Welcome everybody to MogTalk, episode 266. Today is Saturday, November 26, 2022. If you're unfamiliar with MogTalk, it's a show based around the Final Fantasy XIV community discussing everything from Savage Raiding to Chocobo Racing. And we brought on two amazing guests to talk about a lot of different topics that people probably who watch this show are interested in. Raiding, Party Finder, getting clears, all that great stuff. Before we go too much into it, of course, I'm going to have them introduce themselves so they're not just kind of sitting there awkwardly. Llama, tell everybody who you are.
Well, I'm Llama. I do a bunch of in-game content here on Twitch, on the Twitchers for Final Fantasy XIV, although I did play World of Warcraft last night, so technically I did quit Final Fantasy.
Cheater.
So I know. Don't cancel me right away. But yeah, we like to do helping parties, coaching parties, and it's just a good time, man. Just helping people get into raiding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rin?
Yeah. That's Llamatodd. He's a Final Fantasy XIV streamer, although he did recently start playing World of Warcraft, so he basically did quit.
Wait a second.
Hold on.
This guy.
I'm a little bit of a memer. Hi, I'm also a Final Fantasy XIV guy, otherwise I wouldn't be here. And we like to teach people Savage and Ultimate raids. We've been doing a lot of UCOB again lately. And recently stepped into Angelus Demonis' territory and started doing Deep Dungeon.
That's right. Seems to be going well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a nice time. Just trying to get people through all the content we can before 6.3 comes when we all lose 100 hours of sleep.
Yeah. So yeah, shout out to Angelus. Awesome guy. Also, I always like to say this. He is my free company leader.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He is.
No way.
He is. I'm in a free company that's basically, I don't want to say it's dead, but it feels a little dead. I'm sorry, Angelus. Like, there's not much activity in the NFC anymore. But
do you speak in the FC
well,
chat?
no.
He does
I don't ever
solo
speak.
content, so it's just,
But shout out to him because he was able to get Final Fantasy XIV. Although they were advertising in GDQ for such a long time, they're now featured on it on like a pretty decent spot, like a late afternoon Friday, which he's going to be doing a run of Palace of the Dead on there, which is really cool.
Right.
Who's his couch buddy?
Oh, that's me. That's me. I'm going to be on the couch. And I'm gonna be saying just idiotic things, and he's gonna be saying, "Oh, it's okay. You're stupid. Let me explain this thing," and so we can kind of relate to people who don't know Palace of the Dead. So it's gonna be a fun time. I'm really excited about it. It was unexpected, but he's my good buddy. Angelus has been like, man, it's weird how long I've known that dude. Like since the 3.x days of Feast.
The PvP.
Yeah. PvP.
He used to be a big boy there.
Yeah. He was on stage. No, he wasn't on stage. He was almost on stage. He was in the finals coming up to it for the PvP contest. I was commentating Feast Regional Championship, and we all went out and ate Japanese barbecue. It was a great time. It was
Pretty sweet.
It was pretty good. Anyways, we're done. Palace is dead. We don't care about that. It's done.
This is a FanFest talk.
What? Today, because of the guest we have on, we're going to be talking about raiding, right? We're going to be talking about Party Finder, and we're going to be talking about getting clears, because I feel like you guys at least have some way of, discussing these different things. Todd, you do some Party Finder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, Ren, you too, right? You're just not like completely 8 out of 8 static.
Yeah, but the Party Finder and clear circles slightly overlap sometimes and meet up.
They do. I think like we try to bring in a few veterans like from our communities just to kind of help out, and sometimes we'll fill out the rest. But there are days where it's just like pure Party Finder just to go in and see what's up, keep us on our toes.
Sometimes you see a PF and it's like clear for one. You're like, wow, I've seen that guy for a couple of weeks now. Let's get in there and get him out.
Let's just show up.
So would you say like there's a whole like community of people who want to clear content or help people, like they kind of like hang out in your chat and just wait for the groups and jump in to help out?
Yeah, I'd say there's a good mix. I think there's some folks that are very timid and maybe afraid of going into Party Finder by themselves, and they find comfort maybe in a streamer like Rin or myself, and they'd rather just join our groups where they know it's like a safe environment to learn.
Is it safe?
They know the patience will be
Well,
there. It depends.
Depending, yeah, if Rin's tanking, we'll see.
If Sebi's in the party, he's probably not.
Yeah, might drop a tank buster on you, but it's just part of the experience.
Okay.
I expect
I would say there's also a group of people in both of our communities who like to just watch and experience it through watching us get through it. And it's not their thing, but they enjoy seeing how it could be a little bit more approachable.
Yeah.
And then there are people who get really bad experiences in Party Finder without us, and then like, yeah, we'll just wait for you guys, because, you know, I have one person who joined a PF. He messed up one time by walking off the side and then got removed from the party immediately after one pull. And it was funny because I encouraged him to try out. I'm like, go ahead, Party Finder. I'm a little busy today. Try it. You got this.
Right.
And then he's like, well, I'm not doing that ever again.
Yeah. Party Finder can be a dangerous place. You have to be like a perfect player to not get yelled at. And the thing is, when you're trying to clear content, you're not a perfect player most of the time. Because you're still learning and you're trying to figure things out. And so everyone else's expectations going into Party Finder seem to like be inflated. Like you are only there to help them get to clear. And so if you're not helping them do that, then you're a liability, piece of shit, horrible person that shouldn't be in that group.
Why'd you join this party if you're not consistent?
Yeah. I've been feeling it, man. So can I rant a little bit? Can I have a second?
I've seen you. Yeah, you've been PFing.
You're a healer this tier. You have the perfect chance.
I want to hear your experiences. Let's go.
Party Finder is great and horrible at the same time. It really is a mix of that stuff. So when we try to think about what Party Finder, what niche does it fill, right? If you want to go in and you want to have a consistent group, you get a static that shows up at the same time and you guys go through it and you do it. So why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you just do that to clear the content? You're with friends, you build bonds and everything else. Well, you're busy. You can't guarantee you're going to be there every night at the same time, right? And you just want to jump in and jump out and have that flexibility. Party Finder is so good for that, by the way. You have that flexibility, but half your fucking time is waiting for a group to be filled up. That's half of it. Well, I'll mix that half. I'll say half is waiting for it to be filled, and there's another part of that half that's also like you go in, someone disconnects, you go in, and you sit 10 minutes. You wait 10 minutes, right? How long should you wait? You never really know for someone to come back.
Well, if you want a fast group, you just play as a shield healer or a caster.
I'm doing that, by the way.
You don't have to wait as much.
You did that on purpose.
I did that on purpose. I wanted, there's so many different reasons for doing that. One is because I wanted to finally get into healing and actually give it like a really good effort into doing it, because I haven't. I've tried once during Midas, and that was with my wife, and she was like, well, you shouldn't really heal. But
you can count on them for honesty, though.
Yeah, at least I've gotten better, and I've started to understand things a little bit with that, with healing. And I wanted to learn Sage because there's a new shiny healer, and that was cool. And I knew there was a lack of people out there who wanted to heal in Party Finder, and so I could get groups a little bit faster. It's still a little bit of a slog, though. It still takes a little bit depending on the situation. Man, I really don't want to turn this into my show, but I have so much to say about Party Finder.
No, please.
Your place. What it's about.
I want to hear it.
So going into it, a lot of that half is just trying to get into the content at all. I have 6 to 9 hours a week to play Final Fantasy XIV. So that's it. And it's in 3-hour segments that I have to do it. And so at least an hour and a half, I'm trying to find a group. The other part is trying to struggle through that content. But once you're in that party, if it doesn't go well, I'm not going to leave that party. I'm just going to get whatever I can out of that group. And it might not be a clear. It might be some level of consistency to make it to where I fail less overall. But it takes so long to get that group and it takes so long to get a group in the end when you're trying to get a clear that can execute a clear. It sucks. And so I understand why people are like, hey, I'm going to wait for Ren, I'm going to wait for Llama to get a group together and let me get through this content.
You're doing like P7S, and you don't even know if the group's going to be good or not until 8 minutes into the fight.
Yeah.
You don't.
Well, here's the thing.
I get so mad. That's so tilting, that fight.
P7S is such a fucking, like, one of those fights to where you go for a clear party or enrage party, and no one understands those last 3 mechanics because they can never get there.
They're the only mechanics.
It's the only mechanics where it's like personal responsibility.
Half an hour.
Yeah.
I was in 3. It took me 3 different groups yesterday. I was pure PF for P7, and the first one, there was like no mitigation like anywhere, like no feints, nothing, and we just died to damage. I'm like, we got to.
And whose fault is that? The healers?
Oh, I was healing the first one, yeah, and they were trying to blame
DPS
me.
will never take responsibility.
Yeah, I was like, there's nothing on the first Light of Life on Purgation. I'm like, I guess we'll just die. And then the first knockback, like when the birds are shooting down the bridges, you know, the south platform, there's like that little triangle. Typically you have a caster or a healer there. Well, I stayed there as healer, and this a tank just stands on top of me. And he types, "That's my spot." I'm like, oh. And there's like an open platform in the northeast. There's no one there. I'm like, just go there. And he's like, but that's my spot. And then the next time, like, we got there, he tried to take my spot, but then he just fell off the platform. He just walked off on accident.
Nobody will be down there.
Just he disbanded.
It's true. Yeah, it disband immediately. Leave the group. And my favorite thing is like when people leave and then you get out of the party and you're like, okay, we'll fill it up, but there's no one there. The group's gone. It died immediately. P7.
We're making this all up, by the way. Party Finder's really great. They're all paid actors.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so, and I love this position. I'm gonna tell you this. I really do love doing Party Finder. I love being in there with random people.
My God.
When things go right and people are there and they're like, "Hey, let's try to get in there, get some experience and learn." And they're not just fucking assholes about it. Like they're just like, "Hey, that's all right. We're dying. We're not going to get the clear. You know, we want to do a clear party, but hey, we're in here. We're trying. We're having a good time. Let's just do it." I love that. That's so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, that last set, the 7 group, I got to clear in 7 and 8. It was just Party Finder people, and it was awesome groups towards the end of the night. But yeah, you definitely have to wade through a few bad ones.
Yeah,
I think this tier has more players in the final floor, anyways. That will spend the entire lockout in there, even if it's not going well, than any other tier I've ever done.
Wow,
definitely.
I haven't gotten there because I'm still in P7S, game through Harvest.
So, I mean, you got us.
It's true. It's true. You know, but there's something about getting that clear at a random group of strangers all just fucking doing it. There's a feeling to it that's hard to replace. So there's also
accomplishment. You struggle.
It is.
Yeah, but there's also the feeling of like exhaustion, and I don't feel like that I lose anything by having my friend playing with my friends and getting the clear. I still feel good. It's a weird situation for me. I don't know.
So when you're looking at your Party Finder groups, one of my favorite things to do is finding the 6 out of 8 or 7 out of 8 statics, so I could learn their weird strats that they impose on the pug. I don't know if you do that, but I don't. Very entertaining.
I haven't had too many experiences with that yet, but yeah, I see those every once in a while, and I remember the days of me leading a static and how we had some really goofy stuff, and the reason certain people did mechanics was due to the people, not the roles they were in. Their roles and the actions they took for mechanics were based on who they are, then their ability to execute had nothing to do with what was optimal because of their job or the placement or uptime or anything else. It was just getting the clear. I led a very casual group, and that's why. And I think a lot of groups out there that are just friends are just like that. Like you guys, you have to excuse me when I jump back to Alexander days, because I know not everybody played during Alexander. The heyday. I played Paladin, the whole tier. It was so great. But all 3 tiers. But no, I didn't do all 3 tiers. Machinist was first, Scholar was second, and third was Paladin. That's when I was forced back into Paladin, and I never left since then. But I did a 2S with the bombs and the ads as a machinist, and I did the robot that pulled the bombs around, which was, I don't think, the right decision. It wasn't.
I was the Gobwalker as a Dragoon.
Oh yeah,
because I didn't do good AOE. We had a monk and a bard and a summoner. They get to do the damage, right?
That's
Actually,
fair.
I think my static required me to level up a ninja, so I could jump out of the Gobwalker, goad somebody, and jump back in.
Oh my god, goad.
Yeah.
It was a good tier. It was a hard tier.
It was hard. It did a lot of damage to... Oh, okay, so that's such a weird discussion to have, too, because if we talk about Party Finder back in the day then, I don't... What...
It wasn't.
You
played with your server.
You
only.
played...
Yeah.
Yeah, it was your server.
You had to play with your server.
Not like this.
And if you made any enemy, you just weren't raiding because there were no statics. And that was when statics were also like, this is our static. You don't sub for other people. You don't share strats. This is when we run. And everybody was very cliquey back then, dude. You only met people from other servers and like experts, right?
I think that's true. Yeah, I think that's right. It was a weird time back then. But I mean, it was still fine. It was still fun.
It was cool because you had to walk to the instance to get in, and you would see all the people with their loot each week that came out with like new weapons and bodies. And you're like, ah, dude, grats, nice, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that. Jeez, there's so many spots, especially in Coil days. We're fucking old.
You're waiting in like North Shroud over at the little gazebo.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah.
I remember. Go ahead.
Just waiting outside the instance.
Yeah.
You're shouting like I-89, Dragoon, LFG, Vic Melds.
Oh man. But yeah, anyways, we did stuff and that's how statics kind of are. And so when you see them in Party Finder, it is an interesting experience. If you want to jump in there, just understand you can't go in there and be like, oh, you aren't doing a Party Finder strat. That's fucking stupid.
And nobody's at fault, right? It's not the pug at fault or this group. It's just I subbed in for a group for weeklies this week actually, and for 6, they were like, yeah, so we're doing uptime exchange of agonies, which if you've ever done it, it's very comfortable, but people are apprehensive because it's different. They hear uptime and they think dangerous, but it's not bad. So I get in there and I was like, okay, so I already know how to do this. Well, they're like, all right, well, let's link a toolbox anyways. And I was like, okay. And I look at the toolbox and they go, but we don't do the toolbox. And I was like, what? They're like, yeah, it's like the toolbox, but we move people. And so I like guessed when the mechanic came up, they're like, you weren't in the right spot. And I was like, oh, where should I have been? They said this. I'm like, well, that's not in the diagram or how Party Finder does it. They're like, yeah, it's a little different.
They linked you something that wasn't useful at all.
I was like, okay, so this didn't matter. And they're like, well, it matters. It's like that. I was like, yeah, but it's not that.
Dude, now you've inspired me. Oh, I used to make diagrams for my group. I wonder if I still have it on my Google Drive somewhere. A12S Pro Circuit Guide. That was the name of my static. Pro Circuit, by the way. Because I had a link shell, and that's how my group was formed, is that I would do Party Finder, and if I had a good experience, I would invite them into that link shell called Pro Circuit, and so we would just invite all the people who were good into this link shell and just ask every once in a while, hey, you guys want to do stuff? And that's how we did it.
We put one together for Living Liquid, actually, on Balmung.
Yeah.
Because it was like, all right, well, nobody can get through the ads phase, so here's a link shell of the only, 60 players on the server that can.
Oh, man. I'm not going to go through all these graphics or anything else, but there is some pretty interesting stuff that I had in here. And I think I put, their name. Oh, yeah, holy shit, did I create this? Or did I pull this from the internet? No, I created this, I think. I took icons on there. Fuck it. I'm looking at something that I'm not going to show on the screen, so I'm going to stop talking about it. But it belongs on shitty diagrams.
It's the strat, but it's also not the strat.
Yeah. But when I join parties, I always look for which one's going to fill the fastest. I don't think about anything else in there. I try and look at what they have as the description and make sure it makes sense to me. You know what I hate? Kind of in that well, you know what grinds my gears? Fucking turning one of those shows, right? It's when you go in there and they're just like PF strats, and they're like, okay, I mean that makes
Whatever
sense for
that
most of the part. Mostly,
Right.
I guess.
Easy description.
Yeah.
And the moment you ask what's PF strats, they're like, "Oh, this guy's gonna wipe us, dude."
Yeah.
Oh, so
They're like, "Watch this video." You're like, "I don't want to watch this video."
So I joined a P6 group, and they said PF strats, but when we get in there, they're like, "So we do PF strats, except these two things, but these two things," and it was like, actually 3 things. They did something different. Yeah, for the transmission, you know, when you get the snakes in the wings and you spray the cones, they did a conga line where they have like 4 people diagonally southwest and 4 people diagonally northeast. So if
and then you look out,
right,
yeah,
and then you look out to the side. But I'm just thinking, if the person in the back messes up, he's hitting 7 people.
so just don't. So just don't mess up.
And they did something weird for Cachexia. Oh, and then they said they were very adamant. They're like, we do Cachexia too. And then we get there and they didn't do it.
You mean they don't tank LB it? And
Yeah, they don't.
It's over. It's over. You
they
better
don't
get
tank
to it.
LB it. It's just whatever happens, happens. I'm like, okay.
I still don't know that strategy for it. I don't know what it is because everyone tank LBs twos it, all right? And so I'm like,
Go to the right side, look in or out, don't get hit by things, and be careful all at the same time.
And have the flare separate from the stack. That's about it.
yeah,
Even if the player dies, the other 7 people live. So you know,
yeah.
Exactly. One group's in, one group's out. You look for the little X that doesn't have a tether. That group is nestled in there.
Yep. A plus sign sends
Doesn't
them to
seem
the
that
wall.
bad. But I mean, in the end,
not.
tank
It doesn't.
LB is such a good party finder decision because that fight
is.
requires 0 DPS. There's like no, I've hit Enrage
No.
multiple times, but it doesn't
That's
really.
the most
Seen
part.
deaths before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so those fights were interesting this tier to go through. Again, this is all my perspective as going through as a healer and party finder. I do feel like healers and party finder are like the only job in the game that's going to have a different experience. Going from party finder to party finder and pool to pool is going to be different because you have to use certain abilities out of order in times to save groups or something else, and things get kind of mixed up. So I don't think I'm ever not going to be a shield healer. I feel like a god as a shield healer. I'm just going to let you know, it feels amazing.
You're in charge of everything, basically, right?
It's so crazy. I mean, and again, regen healers are great. Good. But shield healers, you get a shield on top of all this stuff, right? You're basically preventing so much damage that would happen in mechanic.
Well, if you're a white mage and like a raid wide's coming up and you don't see mid up, there's nothing you can do but just like say goodbye.
Yeah.
At least on a sage, you can have something ready. Like, okay, well, I got a Panheima now.
Yeah.
Let's get this going.
Just do a group shield. That'll handle most mechanics. And you'll be all right.
Most of them.
Most of them. No, there's so much that I really enjoy going in there and figuring out how to optimize it. And I really don't think I'm going back to Paladin at any time soon, any point. It would all be just extra content.
Like another month before it changes.
Oh yeah, I've actually, to be honest, I'll probably play it in 6.3, but just to see what they do. I have no clue what they can do with Paladin. It's just going to be weird and awkward, I bet.
Rework it.
Yeah, rework it. But what's that rework look like, right?
They make Atonement not break a combo. Like, that would go a long way, right?
If they give Res the Paladin, I'll be pretty excited. I'm going to be honest with you.
Man.
I mean, it used to have an out-of-battle
cool.
res, and it had Stone Skin. Remember that? Like,
Yeah. Did it have out? Yeah, I think it did have out of battle.
It had out-of-combat res because it could cross-class Conjurer stuff.
Right.
Right. The old cross class. Damn.
Yeah. But there is a lot of stuff. There's a lot of opportunities for it. I just don't know what. It feels weird doing it in the middle of an expansion. I feel like that's something they should just save for 7.0 as a feature, right? And then save themselves from having to double up on content.
Did a lot of damage though. I think they have to, because like DSR, Paladin's the only tank that needs help for like the Nidhogg tether, or it dies. And then in P6 as well, because they're strapped on cooldowns. They could just buff their defensives a little bit.
Yeah.
Make Veil apply to the Paladin.
Why not? Doesn't make any sense.
It
Why
applies
not?
for
Yeah, I
every
know,
other
right?
tank. That's their mitt.
Aren't you behind your own shield?
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I think going into groups and doing stuff in Party Finder and getting clears is such a painful experience in another light, because once you're done with a fight, right, the next step is fresh prog. And man, do you know how hard it is to get a fresh prog group going?
Past week 4? You're not, unless you make it yourself, or you wait for enough people to catch up.
You make it yourself, and you just hope some just bored people are like, hey, you know what? Sure, I'll go into a fresh prog group, and that's the only way you get it. And it sucks. I love going into a new fight, not knowing anything, and just experiencing it with whoever. But you can't find people who also love that same experience out there. It's hard for me to find people.
True.
So it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel great after a certain point in Party Finder, even with cross data center stuff. Well, I guess you have to go data center to data center and hop around and see if you can find it.
Oh, that's hard, yeah. Because then you're like, well, and then time of day.
Yeah.
I think that this tier suffers from success because we had really good strategies really quickly and good guides for them, which meant that a lot of the player base don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. They just know what the strat is, and they adhere to the strat. And then it's a lot of wipes to like, well, I was in my spot.
Mm-hmm.
Or you get some memes where people got to make a tree, even if it causes a wipe.
Or snake.
Or snake.
You know what my favorite thing to do is, like, when people don't care. But one of my favorite things is when you understand the mechanics and something odd happens and you can adjust and you still succeed the mechanic. You have that kind of happening with Devour. Yeah.
You have the other tank that can cover a tower, and then they go there, and you'll have people who freak out because, like, a tank came, so I left. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, they were saving your life. You know how many times that has happened to me where they're like, why were you there? I'm like, because I can be. But that's I had a healers leave the tower because the mechanic was clean, and it just happened to be that he jumped next to the healer tower. So I'm like, well, I'll get in it anyways, because if there's one tower you don't want to fail, it's the healer one. When you have a black mage, you don't have a red mage or a summoner, you really can't afford to lose a healer. So I get in, they both left, and after the wipe, they're like, you shouldn't be there. Why were you there?
You weren't their buddy. You weren't their buddy.
Yeah. and I was like, well, what?
Why would you do that?
You know, we had a guy on our, we were up late at night. Reclears happened on Tuesday, and I had Farty Pinder in there with me. It was a person who helps a lot of parties as well. And we get into 5. And the moment we get in there, we have 2 melees, right? And the samurai goes, who's my melee partner? And we're like, the other melee? So he marks them with a circle above their head.
Okay.
And we're like, why did you do? And the person in voice is like, why did I just get marked? And we're like, I don't know. Maybe he wants to follow you. And he's like, I need to follow you. We're like, okay. Every mechanic that happened, like Ruby Glow casts, he types in chat, mech soon. Like the raid wide casting, mech soon. So then halfway through the pull, they're like, I really don't like this marker. And they removed the marker, immediately missed his towers.
Entire fight
immediately missed the towers. Yeah, and then we had like the towers at the beginning of the fight come up. You know, tanks get like the north one, and the melees get like the south. The samurai goes and stand on the tank because their co-melee wasn't marked, and they were like, "Why'd we die?" And we're like, "You were at A." They're like, "Yeah, I was." Like, that's the tank tower. He's like, "I've never seen that." I was like, "You've never seen that?" If there's one thing Party Finder is renowned for, it's tanks or north, right? Always face.
Oh yeah, the statics. Yeah, make it easy for everyone.
Yeah.
Easier.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But then I've had a lot of complaints this year, and I know marking players makes things easier, but I've been so angry at it because there are so many players who rely on like a healer being marked and then they rely on the healer knowing what to do. And if your healer is new, that causes problems. And I've seen it happen so much, and they're like, well, I followed that person, and that person's like, I didn't know where to go.
Jeez, man. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, a lot of the clear stuff that I have turns out to be that situation too. All right, I'm going and I'm learning this stuff. My favorite thing to do when I was learning stuff in P6S is, you know, you have the 2 different parties have to stand in like one of the 2 different squares on their side. I'd always just watch the other healer.
Yeah.
I hope that
Go
guy
the other
knows
way.
what he's doing. I'll go the
That's
opposite of what he does. And if
Long
he
as
doesn't know what
it's
he, that one person, if he didn't know what to do, would wipe the whole group.
Yeah, I had someone like that. It was a healer, and they kept standing in the wrong spot, and they were blaming other people, and they were getting mad, but they didn't realize they were making the mistakes. And they type in party chat, they're like, "Come on, guys, respect the stuff." And the very next poll, they just drop a flare on the group, and then they
We
leave.
had somebody do that in P8 as well. We were in the final phase, and every single poll, without fail, they had to talk about why somebody made a mistake. And more often than not, it was somebody trying to get out of their way. And then anytime they knew they were at fault, they didn't say anything. And then they just left. We replaced them, and then just cleared. It's a lot of like I said, I think it's just a lot of people, and like Todd and I both have very differing teaching methods, right? Like I like to challenge people a lot to remove a lot of the crutches, just because I think people are so spoiled this tier from seeing so many things that like the Hector guides are very popular, right? So now people are like, I follow this strat, it's the only one I know, it's the only one I'm gonna do, and if anything changes about it, we can't do the fight. And that's good if things go well, but if things go wrong, you want to be able to cover it, right? So like, when Todd and I are teaching, we're just like trying to make people laugh, have a good time, have a nice, I don't care if you don't have Sacred Soil unlocked. It's fine.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe.
Yeah.
But when you're in Party Fighter, people are so entitled.
Yeah.
They have to speak up about everything.
They do.
Every single thing that happens. Some people do it in the middle of the poll. They'll stop recovering to tell you what went wrong, and you're like, I don't care right now, dude. Poll's live. Keep going.
Yeah. The other thing that's been bugging me a lot in Party Finder, it's just the people who go in to just clear parties, and they want to treat it like a parse party, and you're just like, guys, just I get you want to do really good in here. I guarantee you, no matter how good you do in this party, it's not going to make your parse any better than
not at all.
it's not going to do anything for you. It's not
This tier, there is a lot of fights where you do want to join a prog party because the kill times in a best in slot party is wretched. But you also need to know how to parse while playing well, right? Like, I have a very big stance on that. I don't think anybody's parse. Like, there are people who care about it, and nobody should devalue that. If that's what you're playing the game for, that's fine. Just like if you're not playing for it, fine too, right? As long as you're not hurting others.
Yeah. Right.
But my stake on that is that if you're trying to parse, you're not a good player if you're griefing other people to do it. Like, if you're a tank and you're not using reprisal or any cooldowns or anything, and your healers are wasting GCDs, I don't care how much damage you could do. It doesn't matter. Right? Like, if you're a summoner and like 3 people die and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to res, then like that's a sign of a person who's not willing to help the party, right? So like, if you can parse well and nobody even knows that you were trying to do it,
yeah,
like,
no,
great.
100%. You should try to do better. Or bars, whatever, guys. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean,
it's fine.
Whatever. We all know what it is.
Whatever I don't care.
It's not that taboo, I don't think.
It's optimizing your gameplay at the end of the day, right?
Yeah,
like,
it is.
The damage will come whether you're running a meter or not. If you're playing well and doing your rotation, it'll happen.
But the thing is, like, when you're doing just a re-clear party, or you're doing some sort of party that is, they're just trying to clear, man. They're trying to get through their day. They're tired. They're exhausted. They're like, I just want to get through this. And then you're throwing a whole bunch of people out of whack just so you could attempt to get a better spot on a stupid leaderboard. It's not going to do anything for you. And I say that, and I'm like at the very bottom of all this shit, of course, because I don't give a fuck. I just want to clear the shit. I would have fun doing it, and I feel like a lot of people ruin the experience just because they want to try to do something more.
One more GCD during Gorgons.
But you do need those players, not the ones that greed for a GCD when you're not supposed to, but the players who know their rotation. Like, you do need them to meet some of these checks. Like, that final floor, you cannot have like 5 people who don't know what they're doing.
Again, individual play, but having to like change a comfortable strategy for an uncomfortable strategy is stupid. If you're trying to go for it, right? That is a goal, and you need to make sure that everyone in that party is accepting. God, fuck this chair. Is doing that exact.
If you want to do a strat, make the party, right? Like,
Yeah.
don't join a party and be like, we're not doing what you said to do, party leader.
Yeah, exactly. And trying to convince them to like mutiny against the strategies to like in the group. And they're like, hey, we're doing this,
the other
right?
direction too, right?
Huh?
Like there are times where you'll see. I said likewise the other way around. Like
Yeah.
P7, I think is a big one, right? Where the war harvest.
Oh yeah, it's a bunch
If
of
the
different
party
strands.
leader says they want to do Inumaru, then do Inumaru. If they say they want to do all far, do all far. But you don't get in there, wipe to it, and say I'm not going to do the other one.
Yeah. Or someone goes, "Oh, sorry, thought it was far."
I just don't.
I just don't. This is my spot.
If I make a group, I have that fucking description laid out, and then as soon as we go in, I paste that shit right in chat again. I'm like, there you go. There's literally no excuse for you guys to deviate from what this says.
I toss the raid plan in there, the link. I'm like, here you go. This is harvest. That's really it for 7. You don't have to describe other things.
No, it's pretty
There's
straightforward.
like one open-ended strat, and it's the final phase of P8, where you get to that phase, and they typically let the healers decide how you want the natural alignment, the Allegan Rot players to stand. Because some parties will send them far away from healers, but some parties like put them right in the middle of the arena so they can get heals. Because they have like the Allegan field, right, where they can't take damage, but they do have a natural dot take on themselves that need to be healed. So if you let the healers decide, that's like they should decide, right? They're the ones who got to heal them.
Yeah. You know, the other thing is, everyone keeps telling me about all these dots and everything else. And I'm like, I have buttons that are like literally reverse problem that you have with dots. You know, there's healer abilities that are literally meant for these mechanics. And I have zero fear out of them. Because, what is it, Panheima?
Regular Heima for like a tank buster that has a
Oh,
dot.
it's so great. I
you
just
go.
throw it on him. All right, well, the dot doesn't matter anymore. It's just so silly. Because I thought that like it was gonna be so much more scary, but it's just like you're gonna have to use some abilities.
Who cares? You have extra, right? Like you have a carrot roll for every mechanic.
Mechanic
That
soon.
AoE soil.
It's so
next soon.
strong.
Next soon.
Caribou is so strong, and using it for tank busters, man, too. It's so
yeah,
good.
you catch the venomous mass into toxic and boom. Or you catch the tank buster in P6 and then it gets the bleed after as well for the raid wide and stuff. It's very, very cool.
Man, it is so strong, and I can't even imagine going back and just tanking now, man. I just can't. It just doesn't. It feels so far away.
You're also spoiled with Sage. Scholar is very strong too, but I feel like Sage has more often.
Okay.
There's a lot of buttons on Sage. And you get Icarus too. If you're out of place, you just jump to someone else.
I never
and hope
use
they're in a good
Icarus
spot.
ever. I don't.
Oh.
I need to use it. I need to pull and stuff for fun, but I just ignore those abilities. I've treated them like they don't exist, but I shouldn't. But
I don't think that I've used it in the last week to rescue somebody into a danger zone and then Icarus to a safe spot. I can't say that I do that because that would be griefing.
Yeah.
But you could theoretically do that combination of actions in P7.
The thing is, if I'm out of place and I'm not where I'm supposed to be, I'm gonna be dead before I get figure out I need to press Icarus, right? I'm not gonna be able to process it quick enough. I'm too old, man. I'm just dead.
Wait, I think this talk today just turned into complaining about Party Finder.
It kind of is.
I mean, how could you
that's
not?
how we end up teaching, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's the
Party
thing.
Finder is not great sometimes.
I mean, because that's, to be honest with you, that's where your teaching and a lot of your clear stuff comes from, is the remnants of what happens in Party Finder. It turns into people kind of joining your group, people feeling more comfortable there. Party Finder, again, it's a tool. It's not like it's some sort of like magic land of like, this is so great and wonderful. You're not going to have people saying that. You're interacting with random people on the internet that you don't know, that don't give a fuck about you. They're in that party for themselves. And that's what a lot of people have to remember, is when you go into Party Finder, these people, they're in their own world. You're an NPC in their world, man. I mean, I'm going to be honest. There's sometimes it's not that way, but
side character.
yeah,
You are.
yeah. And
my rolls were shit this week.
And the thing is, you just go in there, and I don't roll on stuff. I'm like, I'm not going to use, but I don't expect other people to do
Everybody else will.
Yeah,
everyone rolls no matter what.
They're not going to use the tomes on the weapon. They don't care.
They'll throw it away just to roll again.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you have to accept that that's what it is, and there's nothing you could do about it. There's no fault on them. That's just whatever. You're an NPC to them, man. If they lose it, they lose it to some. It's in the trash anyways. Right? So, but for me, you know, I have this mental thing where I'm like, I don't need it. I'm never going to use it. Whatever. I don't care. I'm not going to think about it anymore.
Your inventory.
I just move on. But I expect that every single person is going to roll against me on every single thing that drops.
Absolutely.
This is a PSA to all of you. If you don't need something, let someone else roll on it. Because next week, if they join your party finder and they didn't win because you took it and you don't meet the DPS check, it's your fault.
That's true. I thought you were going to say they'll remember you, but I was just going to tell you no one remembers anyone. But
you might end up with them again.
Yeah, it is true. You might. It's good to make sure the overall player base has a couple more HP, can do a little bit more damage, just to make things cleaner overall. There's no reason not to. But yeah,
Party Finder is a great place to see like where common errors happen, right?
Yeah.
So when you're teaching and stuff, you know what you're looking for, you know what to expect, where people might choke or make a mistake or not learn properly because Party Finder just didn't do it right.
I think the one mistake that I see, the most common one, is during P7. Well, it's the harvest, but it's famine in particular. I don't think people quite understand where to stand if they get tethers.
How to orient themselves. And
it gets kind of goofy.
They get a little lost, and they just think, like, well, if I just go to the opposite platform with my tether, I'll be fine. And they end up either directly south or directly north. And then they're right next to someone else instead of across from them. I'm like, well, you're dead now.
You got to make that X. There should be a bird between you.
Yeah. A bird between you, and if you get if your Minotaur is close to the bridge, then on the other side, the Minotaur you stand next to should be far from the bridge. It's just there's different ways.
They don't understand how the bait happens if you're not tethered, and they're like, "Well, I'm late. I hope I make it."
Oh my god!
Leave right through the entire arena, dude. Just don't. Two closest people, if you're wondering, chat. Two closest people. So if you're late, don't even go there. You could stand on top of a tether play, and you're not going to die because it's only one instance of damage anyway. It's better than wiping.
That's a good point.
So, you know, I guess we could talk about the clearing, but we'll jump back and forth between these topics the entire fucking show. This is not a stable, we talk about this topic, jump to one topic, jump to the next topic, right? This is...
I like to hear you complain a bit more.
You know what, I'm going to take a break from that just a bit, real quick. And I'm going to let you guys kind of... I am curious, because we do talk about, you know, the remnants, again, of Party Finder making their way to your groups. But how many... I gotta ask this too. All right, there's a lot of questions. I gotta ask this. How many people do you have who complain to you, be like, man, Party Finder sucks and they're shit, and I can't believe they're so horrible. Then they get in your party, you get that clear, and then that player sucks and is shit and horrible. Do you usually have people join in after complaining, and then you're like, I kind of understand why you're having trouble in Party Finder?
Well, I mean, I'm sure Ren and I have both experienced something like that. I wouldn't call anyone out in particular, but I think over the years, we will sometimes get a person that has complained about Party Finder, and then they get in the group, and we quickly see that they are just completely lost. I mean, we try our best to like help them out, but again, some people are just there to get the clear, not so much learn. They just want the easy clear.
Yeah. See, we try to challenge them to, like, maybe the first clear you do get carried through because it's only a couple of pulls. You don't absorb the information, right? But we try to challenge you to learn. But yeah, every once in a while, there are people who just don't know what's going on. Or if you try to ask questions, I think sometimes they get embarrassed. And instead of asking or having a conversation, they're like, no, it's fine. We can go again. But I would also say that, like, yeah, we've definitely both run into people that do that. I would say twofold, too. Sometimes there are people who get the clear, don't really know the fight, and then they want to help, right? And they still don't quite understand, but they want to be there. And, you know, they got help for a clear, now they want to pay it forward.
Right.
The heart's in the right place. They want to help, but they still don't quite understand the mechanics. And I feel like if we've done our job helping you in a raid, if you can turn around, do the raid without any call outs, if you can describe a mechanic to someone else where they understand it, then I think you're ready as a helper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I would also say, to an extent, it's not their fault, right?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's say, Frosty, you played in a group. I'm going to throw out a theoretical, made-up, never happened before situation. Okay, let's say you were playing Paladin. This is like the only good thing that came out of the job.
Sure.
Let's say you're playing Paladin.
Oh,
let's say your tank stance was a GCD.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, and let's say a group required you to you had a warrior, but they required you to pull the boss with shield oath because it reduces damage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Never would have happened, but let's pretend it does.
Mm-hmm.
How are you ever going to learn how to optimize what you're doing if they force you to do something that's suboptimal, right? And then you're like, well, the warrior could pull because they have extra cooldowns or healing or can use another invuln. And like, no, you're doing this. Mm-hmm. So then you finally do get a chance to play in a better setting. I would expect you to be the weakest player because you were not ever in a situation where you were allowed to flourish, right? Mm-hmm. You have all these people that are in party finders that are just not doing the job, not teaching, and just complaining and leaving after 3 pulls or 1 pull. And so you never have a chance to learn. Mm-hmm. And so how do you expect those people to show up and be like, yeah, this is a star player? No, you would, like, your bar should be low, and if they surprise you, great. But you shouldn't expect somebody who's like, I've been struggling for a clear for 9 weeks. Like, there are people who still, this is like week 14, and like, I've been trying since week 1, still can't get it. You're like, right off the bat, you're like, there's probably something you're not doing quite right. But you could just be really unlucky, and then they get in there, and that's your chance to, if they're open to it, encourage them and offer suggestions if they're open to it and improve their play. Sometimes you get people who are like, look, I haven't raided in a tier. I want to get in and do the fights. Like we had Todd and I, we used to raid with a tank Winter Era. He was very, very good. He took a long break. And he just came back in and we taught him P5, 6, and 7, and he learned it in 3 pulls each. Just banged them all out.
That was great.
But sometimes you get people where it's like, okay, we've been working at this P8S, P2 for like 6 days now, and it's like a 0.1% wipe theoretical situation, and you just can't get through it. And again, that's also not always the person who's trying to clear faults. Sometimes the helpers are not as consistent as they could be.
Sounds awful. I hope that doesn't happen to any of us.
Well, no, you're right. I mean, again, you have... I know I said people who join into Party Finder, you're all NPCs to them. You're not NPCs to me. All right. There are some people in my expectations of other people when they come into a Party Finder is that they treat everyone like NPCs. But there are people who
you don't even treat them like that.
No. I treat them like
treats me like an NPC in raids.
I treat them like AI that's not working properly.
True.
I made you repair while I was on my main. You're like, wait, you can repair your own stuff. I'm like, yeah, but it's better coming from you.
No, fair. But yeah, no, I try to keep that human part in there because that's when I think that might be something with streaming too, right? I don't know, like you like humanize a little bit more and you have people you talk to and you got to be kind of careful. Well, you don't have to be. It depends on the type of person you are. But if you talk shit about someone in your group, you're probably talking shit about someone watching your stream too.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure we've both been there, but like if you join a Party Finder, I think
a party, they're like, "Hey, Todd."
Yeah, yeah, they do that because like I'll join a pure Party Finder group. I'm not, I don't have anyone in the voice call with me. I'm not coaching, and I'll just start like ranting about people being out of position, and then they pop up and chat. Oh, hi, Todd. I'm sorry, I was the monk in that group. I'm like,
I had that happen on my alt. I'm like, I didn't even know you knew my character. They're like, hey, Rin. And somebody was like, who is Rin? And I'm like,
know
us. Right, I'm on the Snoke mode.
My favorite shit when that happens, and I'm an expert or wherever else, who's like, hey, Frosty or something else. And they're like, who the fuck is Frosty? And then there's like this weird, awkward conversation going on.
Like, are they a streamer? And then you're sitting there like,
this is really cringy. I don't have this.
There have been a few times too where like I'm not streaming, and I'll join a Party Finder on my alt because I'm just trying to get through stuff, and like the party will be kind of toxic.
Yeah.
And I had somebody, they're like, "Have you even cleared this fight? You have 1 parse." And I'm like, "I'll be right back." And I leave the party, and then I join on my main like, "Oh, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, why would you treat me differently than you would just treat anyone else?
Yeah.
It's because they want to get on MogTalk.
They want to get on MogTalk. That's why. It's the only reason you guys are nice to me. You want to be on a shitty podcast.
That's true. That's completely true.
Yeah.
You know what would make it better? If everyone just checked their Prime Gaming sub.
That's so stupid.
See if you have it available, and you could use it here. Subscribe, and support Frosty and MogTalk.
You guys want to see how?
Yeah.
Check this out.
Let's check it out.
Oh shit. Do you not have your Prime on cooldown, Ren? Have you not been using it as much as you could? You saved it.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, okay. Oh, look at that.
There's one. There's one Prime Smadge. Any primers in chat?
Dude, I need to get more of that stuff going.
Keep an active subscription on this channel.
What?
And when the world race for 6.3 happens, you won't get ads.
That is true.
That's right.
That's true. I do need to start kicking up that incentive next month too. Again, thank you everyone, by the way, who has fallen for the shill. I appreciate it.
You do play a shill.
There we go.
Right?
Yeah.
Shill.
But no, yeah, I have to start kicking that stuff back up again. It is. I'm trying to figure out. God, we're going into a side topic, but like the world race stuff, trying to figure out like the best way to handle it, because it's good. Doing ultimate is such a thing. It's such a big thing, because you don't know how long it's going to be, and if you want to do a 24/7 stream on that, which I would like to, I feel like even though there's not action going on, having a center point for the race, and where a leaderboard could exist, people can come and talk, and just a place to exist at all times of the day would be nice, and just have activity between, people commentating 16 hours, whatever, however much the raid's going on, and the rest of it just be like the place to hang out for people who are just wondering what's going on. So we'll see how. Thanks, Llama. Thanks. I am just forcing you guys to get subscriptions. You'll have to cancel later on. Go back.
When you get good analysts too, you get good conversations out of it. Yeah. Whether it comes to talking about what they're seeing in the fight or how teams have been progressing, keeping up with one another. It's a good event in and of itself, right?
Yeah, it is. So this one, I'm trying to plan out like a whiteboarding session and have a whole bunch of knife men come on and just do a talk about strategies that they're seeing on whatever groups are doing, whatever, and just go real crazy for a few hours a day, a couple hours just broken up, and just whiteboard the screen the entire time, and just talk about what's the fight. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Maybe differences in strategies too, if fights allow for it, right?
Yeah. If
not every team. Even those of us who stream, like sometimes comms are muted, or like we don't show the diagrams on screen, right?
Yeah.
You just see the stream.
Even then, explaining why and going into like a deep analysis, if there is another way to do the strategy, or if it's the only way to do it, right? Just figuring that stuff out. So I want to have that for this race, and we'll see. And it's the thing with Ultimate is that it's slow enough, right? There's one mechanic that happens, and then everyone's trying to figure out that mechanic. Then the next one happens. It's the same fight for a while, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't want to say fluff, but there's a lot of stuff that you have time to talk about things or go into a lot of other things besides just the fight that's happening. So it's a big ordeal that I'm working on. We'll see if we can actually make a really good one for next year. Just by the way, guys, events this year, we were able to raise like $75,000 or so overall. Throughout all the different events, a rough estimate. It's pretty good. We'll see what we can do next year.
That is damn good, man.
That's fantastic.
Anyways, back on the topic of Party Finder, and back on the topic of people going into your parties and everything else, and the expectations. I mean, so there's a whole nother twist and aspect, is that you have people who join your party who's never ever like done any kind of raid outside of groups like your group. Would you say that's true too?
Oh yeah,
there are people who exclusively wait for spots.
Okay. Okay. So tell me, how do they even, like, do they have a sign up sheet? How do they even get organized with you to do that stuff?
I think it's just whoever's around at the time.
Yeah.
Just pull people in from chat, and like if we're for free, if we're not doing anything with static or whatever, and it's like, hey, let's just do a coaching party, and like who wants in, and then if they're on, then we'll go. I mean,
a lot of it's impromptu. Yeah, like when you're live, right? Because sometimes people have expectations. Like sometimes people are like, oh, you should be streaming 8 hours earlier so that I can join. You're like, well,
yeah,
this is my schedule.
This is I'm like, I can't.
It's like you already stream 16 hours a day, Ren. I saw that VOD. 16 hours.
Sometimes people reach out though, and they're like, look, I want to run this. Can we schedule a day?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, yeah, sure. Let's run on like Wednesday night or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
so. That happens. But most of the time, Celestial just bugs the shit out of me until I run with him.
True. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So, those players, those kind of players that come in and they're looking for, they're just as good as skilled as other players. They just don't want to put up with all the BS, or like what's those situations like? What would you say about that? Okay, he sucks. All right.
Yeah, he plays Paladin.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. If he's chosen, to do it.
Some people are really good right away, or haven't raided in a while, or just want special situations. Some people.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call anyone out. Don't ask me to.
Okay. No, I won't. So you get
some people just want to raid with you because they know it's a comfort spot, and there are people who we have who they like. I've had somebody be like, "I'm a really slow learner. I'm not good. I know that, but if you're willing to help me, I would like to raid." And so then, when you know that the objective is to help that specific person, sometimes it makes them feel a little more comfortable. And you don't expect a lot out of them. If they're saying, look, I'm bad, I'm not great, I can't pick up the rotation, I'm not consistent, but I will try. Right. That's fine.
I mean, and so I think that's actually a really great point to bring up as well, is that there are players who they're okay with not being great at the game, but they would like to try the content and they would like to be in an environment. They just haven't had the situation opportunity. They can't find 7 other people to do it with them, right? And I don't feel like they should be locked out of the content just because they don't have the ability to be a really good player. I mean, right. You know, it's not that they don't have the ability. It's just I'm trying to think of the right way to say that. Because it's not the ability, it's more of the time, the investment to be able to do it.
Yeah, some people work full time, right? Or don't have the time to hit a training dummy a lot, or go on the balance, or whatever. That happens. Something like DSR, maybe like some people can't ever do that. But Yoshi, like when the fight was coming out, said, "Look, this fight is not designed with approachability. It's just a really challenging fight." But Savage, right? At least the first 3 floors, you could knock that out. It'll take time, but you can do it.
Yeah. I mean, and just trying, and I'm a person who likes to go into fights and improve while doing fights. Right? I don't want to go and do a whole bunch of extra work. I don't want to always go and look up a whole bunch of extra guides and do a whole bunch of other stuff. I will every once in a while, but I want like my core learning experience to be something. It is fun to learn your job by playing it and reading the abilities and figuring out the combinations for yourself. I enjoy doing that. I don't want to know and I do it, but I hate having to go through and watch a whole guide and do a whole bunch of stuff before I even enter a fight.
Google Doc, right? Like,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's not fun to me to do that stuff. It's fun to go in there and figure out what the challenges are, and then figure out my little toolbox and how I can use it. And it may not be the most optimal or the best way, but I'm playing the game.
The job done.
Well, Todd, how was your experience when you took Jay the Bard in? Right, he wanted to learn it all on his own, right?
Oh my God, yeah. This is true. So Jay, he didn't want any call-outs at all. So that was, I think I haven't had that too often in like a coaching party. Usually if I have a collaboration with like a streamer or something, I'm providing call outs because they just want to learn Savage and stuff. But he was like, don't tell me, like I want to figure it out. And I think he learned super fast without any shot calling. And like after the clear, we went in with the call outs and it was like even faster. So I respect the hell out of that. That was awesome.
Yeah. It is fun. And that's why I always liked those first few pulls when I was running a static before. It was always a rule, if we cleared a fight, we'd go into the next one and just not know anything about it and just see what happens and think a little bit. Just have a couple of thoughts to ourselves about what we're seeing and how to handle it. I mean, you both feel the exact same way, and that's why you raid when servers come up. Because
I don't ever want to not blind prog, dude. And you might also see something in a different way that might provide more insight than just following what everyone else is doing.
But that urge is still out there, even if people not everyone will have that access to be able to get into fights early or anything else, and they have to come to it a little bit later. But they still have that urge to kind of learn that way, and they may not be able to find again 7 other people who could do that, and they might be joining Party Finder and trying to learn, and it's a crummy situation. I wish it could be different. I really do wish. People could just join fights and try to learn in the fights and not have to go and do research.
Everybody should have the chance to blind prog something once.
I encourage that 100%.
Once you've seen it, right? There's no more blind. You're gonna know it forever. A tradition I have is when you're bringing somebody into a fight, you could start with explaining things, but my first question is always okay, do you want to know now, or do you want to just just take a pull and see what's going on and then talk about it, right? Or sometimes I'll just get in and pull the boss, right? I don't even tell them. You're all right, here we go. It's live. Here you go. Good luck.
That's what I've done. I've done that so many times in the past. Get in before we can even talk. Just go and pull. And that's how you do a lot of prog, world first progging. You pull the boss when you get in there, and you go. You just see what happens, and then you try to figure it out from there.
Once or 50 times.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a good point in chat too about Echo when they did blind prog for DSR, and that group, that's what they want to do 100% because they find that fun. And I think again, all world proggers are that way. There's not a world progger that doesn't enjoy fights in that manner. I mean, okay, there's probably a few out there, but
sometimes you'll look if another group gets ahead of you and figures a mechanic out, and you're just trying to some groups just want to kill the boss, right? They don't care if they're using other people's strats or whatever, so they'll just take what they have. Or the ninth mans will look it up for them. But Kindred did the whole fight blind for DSR for the race, right? They could have looked at strats from Arthur's group or my group or Stahl's group or anything, but they just wanted to do the whole thing by themselves.
Yeah. And I bet they had a great time, and they're happy they made that decision. So, I think it's going to be. But when you start sprinkling all that stuff in, that's where the groups like you guys have are probably a good platform for them to try it. And Jada Bar, a good example. You might have some people who come in and they're just hey, can you just have 7 people who are okay with me going in there and learning at my pace, kind of the way I want to learn, and they don't have. There's no way to do it unless
I love that. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We're let's just see if he figures it out, and he did.
Yeah,
there's a lot of mechanics that you can crowdsource. You can see where people are standing, and it's well, maybe I should
probably be there.
Maybe they should be there.
It's the children who are wrong.
No, I'm alone. Wait a minute.
Yeah, you could do that part where just the AI for the dungeons.
They kind of mess it up the first time, and then they're oh, we should go here, and you're okay,
yeah, or they don't completely give it away. They start working on that to make sure that you couldn't just follow.
The Heidelin trial, right? They moved at the last second. You see stuff coming, and then right at the end, and I think Thancred gets hit every time, and just tank privileges it.
Yeah, I think the trick with that when you follow Y'shtola, I think she knows the mechanics the best.
Okay,
she is smart.
I remember when we were doing the media tour, and there was we were doing it with the Trust, and what was the one fight where they turn into they all turn into the second boss and they have question marks over their head for a little bit.
Yeah, and you have to figure out which one's doing nothing.
Yeah, and you have to figure that out on your own. I mean, they eventually it hits it, but it's so quick that you might not be able to catch it unless if you figure out the mechanic.
That's what you did at the media tour. Todd and I met with Larry, and we just started taking out our sage weapons and having a duel.
Oh yeah,
we had a cowboy duel. We counted to 10.
We did. 10 paces and fire.
Well, I'll be fair.
So stupid.
I did that dungeon like 3 different times in 3 different ways. I was grouped with Asmon and Rich, and was it Drac, I think, too? And we went in there, and Asmon was tanking, and I was healing Sage. That was my first time healing Sage, and I literally just pressed buttons.
Hey, man.
That was it.
Works.
That's what you do.
I had no clue what any of they did. I just pressed it as much as I could, and
great, this is happening.
Yeah, it worked out. We were able to clear it, but I felt like a horrible person because I felt like it was a struggle, like a big struggle. Not anymore now. Man, healing dungeons is so easy as a sage. Like, I was so stressed, but wow, there is zero thought that goes into it.
Especially since you're healing them just by attacking.
Yeah, you're healing by attacking. You throw up a shield, and then you press your OGCDs.
Yeah, and I think I should play some Sage. That sounds pretty good.
You should play some Sage.
It is fun.
I've been liking Astro a lot, but yeah, Sage, that sounds...
You try it, man.
Dude, Sage,
just sell me on it.
So like you take UCOB, right? You have that transition where people tank LB to Bahamut.
Sure.
You put out that tank LB3 on Sage. You don't need an LB at all.
What?
Sage has so many tools, they could just do it by themselves.
Yeah. Gosh. But yeah, it's been one of the most fun jobs and learning experiences so far for me. Once you figure it out, it seems overly complicated, and all the ability names make... Like, you're not going to pronounce most of them right. Yeah.
No.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember half the names. I just press the buttons and I know what the buttons do and what they look like. So.
Well, the world knows Phlegma.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Phlegma.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Jeez.
But anyways, back off of Sage a little bit. It was weird that there's not a lot of shield healers out there, which is why it's in such huge demand. It doesn't make much sense to me.
More responsibility. They don't want to do it.
Dude, because healers get yelled at for the mitigation that they don't press that aren't theirs.
Yeah.
I got yelled at. Like, why? It's like, you died. Where are the heals? I'm like, where's the mitigation?
You're responsible for recovery.
Mm-hmm.
You're the last to get loot in your static.
Mm-hmm.
It takes the longest to get your tombstones. Like, it's not rewarding, I don't think. Not as rewarding as it should be.
It feels fun, though. It feels it's enjoyable.
It does.
It's so enjoyable.
I like the recovery opportunities.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I always have a lot of fun with it, and so I get that a lot too. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't been blamed too much. There's been a couple of insinuating statements made before, but not like really too much. And I overheal is one of the things that might be the reason why.
Well, then you're lovely. There's a lot of healers who don't.
Yeah.
In a party finder for like just a clear, definitely. If you want to use your GC heals, whatever, man.
You see a few people dead, and you just see like broil. You're like, you gonna get that? No, Swift is down.
I will say,
well, they need to be rezzed.
I will say the fun part about Party Finder and healing it with Sage, not the fun part, the worst part is rezzing people, and you have nothing except for that Swift, right? And you're just like, all right, I use it. And then people are just stay dead. There's a summoner in the party. There's like another healer in the party.
That summoner's like, I'm in my damage phase.
Yeah, they just ignore her anyway.
Or you see, oh man, you know what's such a waste is when you mess up a tower in P5 and a healer whips the LB and heals everybody and reses them back, and then the slimes explode.
I love it so much. I do it. I'm going to be honest. Because I just want people... It feels good to have these people die again for some reason. I don't know why.
You bring the Yggdrasil tree of life and they come up.
Just ready for them all to die again. But no, it is a lot of fun. It's weird. I get it. I get not liking people yelling at you, but I go into every single fight assuming I'm going to solo heal it.
That's a good way to play.
Yeah. In Party Finder, 100% I'm solo healing. I don't, I look and I start to figure out where I can kind of like cut it off a little bit. Like, well, it feels like no one took any damage. Yeah. Everyone covered really quick. Maybe I don't got to press this here. And I start backing off.
Like you can see them playing well, right? Or you see like mitigation go up from other people. Like, okay, I can save this.
Yeah. But I know you can solo heal every single fight this tier. You can. It's been done. And so... I can always try to aspire to doing that. and it makes my life easier. I'm sure healers with me, they love it, and then you just have them glaring the whole time or something like that, and you're just like, okay. But it feels good, and that's why my barses are very low. Because I'm all focused on using.
You killed the boss.
Fear rate's up there. Doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're after.
That's what I'm after, man. But yeah, anyways, getting people in there. So we figured out the people who join your parties. Some people only do it through you guys. Other people are party finder refugees. I guess that's a good way to thing to call them. Yeah, party finder refugees. Yep. And then, do you have any other types? I guess you have like when streamers come in too, right? You have like
streamer collaborations, yeah, like the one-off thing. That's probably
yeah.
Like right now, I'm doing like a weekend duo with some people who reached out. They wanted to put together a group. I've been doing more UCOB again lately with people who are reaching out. Like, and sometimes it's been like statics too, where they're like, "Look, we're like 6 out of 8. Do you think you and like X person would mind like helping us out?" And then like people will reach out because they know that you're consistent. You can do it. Sometimes it's weird though, because they'll be like, "Can you help with this group for a kill?" And I'll get into like a 7 out of 8 static. And like, "Great, can you do the call outs?" And I'm like, "Well, who's your call out person?" They're like, "Oh, they just left." Like, you are now.
You are for now.
Yeah.
And it's pretty funny because sometimes like I just want to push my buttons.
So I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't had it happen this tier at all. I don't know if it's just kind of disappeared. I mean, every once in a while I might see it, but then they're like, "Hey, here's our Discord." I'm like, "Nope."
That doesn't really happen too much, yeah. But I don't think you need it that much anymore, right?
Yeah. You don't ever need it.
Maybe
never
some of the practice parties. Not like a re-clear.
I mean, sure.
There are some fights sometimes that have nuanced mechanics where like having somebody in voice that can call that would be nice. But things this tier are very like, if your role is doing it, everyone in your role is doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's true too. I don't know. I feel like almost every single tier, at least for me, it's always even in past expansions, everything. Once you know the fight, you don't need Discord if you know what the strategy for those fights are. It's
kind of more an ultimate thing, right?
Yeah,
where like you don't want to get 14 minutes in and die.
I mean, that's true. I would think ultimate would be a little bit different, but doing Savage and everything else, I have no interest in hearing bad mics. There's so many.
Or you hear their programs, you get in there and it's like, and you're like, what the fuck is that?
Or an open mic and you just hear like clacking of the keyboards the entire time.
Yeah.
Or like
my favorite thing is the people who
mute anytime you want.
PlayStation players who get on Discord on their phone and they sit and they lean forward and their controller's right over their phone.
That one.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's my favorite.
Oh, that actually happens to both Todd and I, right? Where you get somebody who joins on their phone, and when you bring them into a locked channel, it breaks their Discord, so then they're like, they can't hear anything. And you're like, all right, well, how are we getting around this? And then they're like, sorry. And you'll be like, talking to them, like, did you hear that? They're like, huh? You're like, no, my phone sucks.
Sorry, guys, got a bad phone. And they're like, you barely hear them. They're like yelling at their phone if they like put it off to the side. They're like, God damn it. I just can't do it. I like being too much. Again, this comes into the situation. I like playing and focusing on what I'm doing and focusing on what's happening on the screen and figuring out the stuff in my head as things are going wrong, how to solve it. I don't want to hear someone else telling me anything. I just want to be there.
Yeah, it's just going to distract you, right?
Yeah. And I find that a lot of fun. But and again, Discord's fine. Like I can get in Discord with like you guys or something. It's perfectly fine. But it's not so much fun with just strangers. I'm sorry. I mean, if I don't know you,
and sometimes I'm gonna rant a little bit. Sometimes you get into Party Finder and like, here's our Discord. It's required. And you're like, right, required, right? And so you join, and not only are the callouts not great, but they're wrong. Right, like they'll just call out to go to the wrong spot, or when they'll be like, move, like they'll start yelling and getting frantic, and like I think that's one thing that's really good for Todd. You and I, we're calm about it, right? We're reasonable, level-headed, and like we try to relay good information. But then there are people like freaking out, or they say to do something after it's already snapshotted and too late. And like anytime somebody dies, they're like, we need to just focus. And you're like, what else is everybody doing? Like,
they put the link into Discord like after a wipe or two. They put the link in just in case. And I had one. It was Devour. I was not in the call, but I did the mechanic correctly. I saw the pattern of where to go. The other 7 people on the other side, I'm like, I guess they're gonna die. Like, I didn't second guess myself. I'm like, I know what I saw, so I did the mechanic, and the rest of the group just got stomped.
So, you know what happens? And not in that situation, but maybe I don't know, maybe it did happen in that situation, but there's been situations where that happens, where other people mess up mechanics, and they're like, hey man, can you just get in the call so we can be more consistent? Like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I don't need to be
your
in that
presence would make them feel better.
I guess so.
Or they'll be like, come on guys, we got this. Let's just pull. Just pull. And you're like, all right. But I find way too often people, if somebody dies or makes a mistake, they will just make an assumption. They're like, stop greeting. And I had somebody, we were doing a mechanic with full uptime, and all somebody had to do was move from like here to here, and the person was late, and this guy was just like, yeah, stop greeting. Stop being greedy. We're like, well, first off, it was a physical range that did it. Second of all, we're all in the hitbox. We're like, dude, it's not a greed thing. He goes, well, then we just need to use all our MIT. We're like, everything goes every single MIT. I'm like, on this one mechanic, what are we going to use for the next thing?
Yeah.
He was like, have you ever played healer? Because I was playing tank at the time, and I had already cleared the final fight on White Mage, and this guy who hadn't cleared yet was trying to, and he's like, use all of our mid on this one mechanic. I'm like, we'll die to the next thing. He goes, wouldn't you rather overheal and live than wipe? I was like, all right, well, in 20 seconds we're gonna die. He goes, excuse me, you're a tank. You don't heal. Don't tell me how to heal. Have you ever played healer? I'm like, yeah, I've cleared this fight on. And he goes, you're a tank. Stay in your lane. I'm like.
Guess you shouldn't use shaken off or anything, right?
We used all of our MIT, and then the next day we cast and we died.
Yeah.
And then he's like, play safe, guys. And we're like, okay. Okay. I'm just going to go fuck myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't.
And that's the kind of thing where you, Frost, you're like, I don't want to get in a voice and hear all that shit.
Yeah, I don't. Because you get into some really awkward stuff can be said sometimes in those Discords too. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to hear this stuff.
I don't really weird shit.
Yeah. Or it's like things that are like my pet peeves. Just like the way that people talk to each other sometimes. Like, I'm a very boring person. I'm just going to let you guys know. I'm super boring. But when someone comes in and they start making really weird voices to talk to each other, and that's just how they're intentionally trying to sound that way, and they say a lot of really memey stuff that's with the kids. You know, the kids today,
It's just how they talk.
They talk in PogChamp, right? And they say all
your
this
kid's
stuff.
gonna do that.
Yeah, it's gonna be super weird, and they're like, "Oh man, that was Poggers," and I'm just like, "Oh, that's cool." And I mean, that's fine. That's fine. Again, perfectly fine. But there's just some kind of really weird way that some people communicate, and it makes me not focus on the fight anymore and focus about how old and annoyed I am.
I don't know how to tell you this, but Poggers is like 4 years old at this point. It's based.
Okay, so I'm trying to think about exactly what it was. What was one of the new things? There's something that I heard somebody said. Like, I was just listening to the youth speak to each other in their own little
Did they tell you you had a venomous ass?
They didn't say that, but you know, they might have. Oh yeah, and the ooh, there is the ooh kind of conversation where it's like really cutesy, but it's overemphasized, and it's just it's hard. It's hard. I'm boring. I feel like a prude. I'm going to say this. This is really off topic. But the Final Fantasy 14 community has definitely made me feel like a prude. It does. It does.
That's fair.
Yeah. 100%.
No, I get it too.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, you got to be in on it, right? You got to be in on the know-how. Unless you're Todd, you ban XTD like everywhere because he fucking hates it.
I don't mind XDD tree.
Yeah.
No, but XTD,
the normal the fucking rat with the human teeth, I hate it so much.
Oh.
But like, you got to be aware of it, right? If you're in the community, you got to at least be in the know. And sometimes you get in on it anyways because it stops bothering you. But sometimes you see shit and you're like, that's fucking weird, man.
There's just some really weird stuff. And I'm like, you know what? It's not, I don't even want to say it's weird. It's just not stuff that I'm very interested in. And that's just all it is. And that's just...
you're old.
I feel old.
We are old.
And I feel like if I criticize like some really crazy, really off the wall porn stuff, they're like, "Oh, don't stop being such a prude, Frosty." I'm like, I'm just not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna be quiet. If I see that stuff, cool, and move on.
Thumbs up. That happened.
Anytime somebody says shit like that, I just go, I'm married.
Oh yeah.
And then they usually laugh and stop talking about it.
Yeah.
It's just not pog. It's unpog.
Yeah, it's unpog.
Man, I'm trying to remember what that phrase was, but it just caught me and it just felt so weird and awkward, and like I felt this cringe tingle go through my body and I just couldn't shake it off. If I can remember what those words were, there was just some conversation that was happening that it was like Twitch chat, but they were speaking in that same manner. And it was serious. It was not irony. It wasn't like a joke or anything. It was just how they talked. And I think maybe that's how I was.
Was it bussin'?
Huh?
Was it bussin'?
Real, no
Bussin'.
cap.
Yeah, it's when you get on like a bus.
Oh,
That's right. You're driving to school. It's bussin'. French.
Maybe. God, I don't think it was the Ussy stuff either. It might have been some Ussy stuff.
Bussy.
Yeah. But anyways, we'll get off that topic because I'll start feeling really bad after a while. But Party Finder, all that stuff. So basically, those, would you say that would be the three main groups for clears? Remnants of Party Finder, people who are just kind of waiting because they're like, this is the best experience rating I have, is rating with you guys and getting the clears that way. And just like the streamer, people who come in and they're like, hey, I need to clear content, and you're the guy everyone points them to, or you're the two people everyone it gets pointed to.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah,
it's about right.
Okay. And most of that, when we're talking about like just clearing content in general, there's not really what would you say are the most important aspects of someone learning to clear fights and be like, because these people come and do it all the time, right? They do it with you, and they know what they're doing at some point because they got a rhythm down. But then you have other people who come in and they're never going to get. Actually, that's not true. Everybody gets a clear, right? Have you ever had someone come in and not get a clear?
Yes.
Yeah.
We both have.
Yeah.
There have been people who eventually stop playing the game because they get so demotivated from not getting a kill, but they just don't attempt to get it. So I think effort is the most important thing. Like a willingness to listen and understand.
Right. And I think like you'll have better luck with the first 2 floors of a raid tier, but then it's a bit of separation when you hit like that last boss, where it's like, okay, you really have to know how to press your buttons a little bit better than you did before, because the damage check is tighter, the mechanics are a bit tougher. It's a bit more responsibility, and I think that's where you get that drop off, where it's like, oh, well, now this is too hard. I don't want to invest enough time into improving my gameplay to do this.
Sometimes you don't even need people to be running like that funny numbers stuff to see that, like, you'll see players who are new to raiding and they're just standing there, not attacking or anything. They're just kind of standing there and also not doing the mechanics right. It's rare, I think, these days, but sometimes that does happen, and it's unfortunate. But sometimes you just, like, you can see the gears turning in their head and they're just not, like, they're just in the instance, right? But they're not quite getting it. Sometimes people will like not attack while they're learning a mechanic, and then that's great because they're trying to understand what they're seeing. But sometimes they're just there because they're like, well, if I play with you, I'll clear the content. And then they don't. Yeah. And then they get upset. There have been people who have also gotten upset at both of us for not clearing content because they think it's just going to happen. Yeah. They denounce.
You lost viewers because they came in. Yeah.
They publicly denounce you too.
I've had a denouncer. We had a denouncer. Yeah, they denounced me. Enrin. That's funny.
They denounced you like on Twitter or something, or
it was like across the board social media denouncement, like Twitch, Twitter, everywhere, Discord.
Like you never help, and then like, sorry. Sometimes you don't have time for everybody.
The bizarre thing was, it wasn't like they wanted to learn something. It was just like a re-clear.
They wanted They wanted an easy kill that they had already done.
Yeah, I'm like, I've helped you before. Like we're like, you know what we do. Like we spend the time helping the first timers. Like that's our thing.
Yeah. Like that is weird. That is weird to get upset with someone who's taking time out of their day to try to help you. But then you just, it's this pride thing, I think, man, right? It's this weird pride that people have with being good at Final Fantasy 14 rating. And if they don't have that, they are not in a good place.
There were also times where, like, I've had people ask for a long-term investment. I'm like, look, I can help you for this long, and then I'm out of time. Mm-hmm. And if we get it, we get it, and if we don't, we don't. And sometimes we get it, and sometimes we don't. And I'm like, I'm out of time, and they're like, well, we're not done with the fight. And I'm like, but I'm out of time,
right?
And sometimes they hold that against me.
Static obligations.
Yeah, well, like you're like, okay, well, the world race is coming up. I got to start prepping, or like whatever, right? Like any number of things.
Yeah.
And sometimes people get upset about that, and I can get it, but like, you know, at the end of the day, we're not hostages. We're just like, we're trying to help as many people as we can, and we got our own things we got to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are some pretty awkward situations. And I feel, do you feel like that may be like trending on the parasocial stuff? I know that's like the trendy word for streamers now, right?
I think it's younger people that I see more often.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think they form some sort of connection to you, and like sometimes they think that they're owed like our help.
How is that? Like people that sub, and then they're like, well, now I've subbed to you, you need to help me.
I don't know why. But that just
thank you, but
it makes me think about all the drama of like how people go out and they donate to certain streamers and they spend so much money and then they don't give them attention, and they're like, I can't believe I gave you all this attention, and
that happens.
But for you guys, it's that you don't get them clears.
Our clears are our titties.
Yeah, I guess so. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. Yo, it's Dave. What's up, Dave?
Wait, is that Dave the boy?
Dave, I was playing some WoW last night. Yeah. Please, if you tune in for Final Fantasy, don't cancel me, please. I haven't quit.
I mean, you're never coming on the show again. I don't know what to tell you.
Isn't this your farewell stream?
The only WoW players that come on this show are the ones who played WoW, then went to Final Fantasy. Not ones that go to play Final Fantasy, then go to
Hold
WoW.
on. Well,
It's stupid.
I came from Final Fantasy 11 to WoW to 14. Now back
so you've got a nice sandwich.
But now you're going back, right? So you're done. We're done.
Like a club sandwich of MMOs. And with sprinkle in some Guild Wars too, some Rift, WildStar, Rip. Yeah.
A couple of chips.
Stuff. Yeah. A couple of chips.
Man, no. Yeah, everyone's excited about the WoW expansion. I mean, we can go on a tangent real quick. I mean, they have done a lot of work to invest in this expansion and to bring some life to WoW. I feel like it feels like this is as hard. I don't know if they've gone this hard on previous expansions, but they're doing a lot for streamers too, right? They're doing a lot of the
something for you, Todd.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, gift subs. If you have you do 2 gifts, you get a little weird pet.
Yeah,
minion guy.
That's right. Yeah, that's really cool. They're doing that. Support a streamer. Yeah.
And they got like, you guys got like keys to give away and stuff, right?
I do on
on this stream.
On my Twitter.
No, just kidding.
On my
no,
Twitter.
We're not doing that.
I do have some heroic edition keys to Dragonfight.
Yeah, if you guys want to go and cheat on WoW, hold on, let me type it in real quick to chat. This is a source of where you can go to do that at. A chance you could do it for free. No, I think it's going to be. A lot of people are excited for it, and then the world race for that's coming up soon, which is going to be actually really, really big. I think. I really do hope this is a good expansion for WoW. It looks like it's going to be a good one.
I think so. I would love to.
They need a good expansion.
Yeah. Well,
I would love to get a crossover event with some Final Fantasy raiders and just try to do some heroic and mythic. Like
is it 20 players?
It's quite a roster to fill, but like maybe there's like some time in between where we could just do that kind of casually.
Well,
maybe not like a race.
I had a really cool opportunity to do that back in at the end of Legion.
Mm-hmm.
Had it into what is it, Battle for Azeroth, right? We had a group of, actually it was Feast players and raiders. King Stefan was our raid leader.
Oh,
you know him from
yeah, I do. I 100% do. Yep.
So he wrangled up like 30 people to run through these raids, and it was a good time. But we had nothing to do here on 14, and we were like, well, you want to do some. It opens your mind to different perspective on raiding elements, right? Because even though it's a different games raiding atmosphere, you're still combining teamwork and elements of the game.
No,
it's pretty fun.
There's a reason why like people go and they do raid in that game, because people enjoy it. Right. I mean, it gets memed on by a lot of people just as much as Final Fantasy sometimes will get its own little memes as well. It's just different games, a little bit different environment, but you're still doing MMO raiding. And I think Final Fantasy 14 and WoW are at the top at the moment for that content. I don't know. Maybe there's other MMOs, but they don't exist to me.
No. Well, a lot of the other games are like, they're more about personal like evasion, right? It's like the action MMOs.
Yeah,
but these games are like working as a team. 14's a little bit more responsibility per player because the size is smaller. But good luck getting schedules on 20 adults.
Right.
Wow.
It's
really difficult.
It's very difficult.
You have to have like backup raiders.
Yeah.
Because somebody's not going to show.
Yeah.
100%. You probably have to have like 30 people at least. Or something.
Yeah, we had like 34 people or something, and we're like the first 20 to show up raid.
Yeah, bench. I remember that. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, having people on bench and stuff.
Oh man,
it's always been like that. I think
you got like your extra people are just like farming the greens, right? Those binds.
Yeah, and I think that I mean back in the day, it was 40, right? And you that would be how many you need to do. Although we had 48. We had 48 here in Final Fantasy 14. Then you had to have all 48.
And now we have 4.
What?
Now we have 4 for Criterion.
Yeah, now we have 4 for Criterion.
The Luber Today was awesome. And Baldi's in Arsenal. Those are both really cool events. But it was also the same thing, like where somebody's not sleeping, or if somebody is sleeping, right? You're just like, all right, who's the next person to get us in?
Yeah.
One body.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what it was. And so we'll see if we get another one of those. I think that would be awesome to have that near the end of the expansion again. We don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to do anything like that, but
got a new deep dungeon coming. That might be it.
Yeah, they have a lot. So that is interesting to talk about, because we have Deep Dungeon coming, which is like a 1 to 4 player piece of content. We have Criterion, which was a 1 to 4 for the the
1 to 4 there too.
Yeah,
which was a very, very good experience. That's been something else we've been teaching, which is a little bit more accessible because you could fill smaller teams.
Yeah, and so would you guys say that was pretty well done content? That's good content. How long Yoshi dragged his feet on that? I'm kind of upset with him a little bit. I'm going to say that. I've asked him for years.
And Rich asking.
Originally, they were against it, right? Like they said, well, if someone makes a mistake, I don't know how we designed around just one death, but it's just 4 people. I'm like, well, just do it.
Every time that he says, "Oh, I don't know how it'll work. It doesn't feel like it would make sense," it can. he has the ability.
If we suggest it, we know it'll happen.
Yeah, we just gotta suggest hard, guys. If he pushes back on something happening, just push as hard as you can, and he'll get it done.
I do wonder if like that WoW Exodus that happened last year, or the year before, if it hadn't happened, would we have gotten that dungeon?
It had to have an impact.
I'm sure there's a lot of things that had impacts on.
Well, you get a large influx of people who want 4-man content, and then suddenly now the demand becomes, it's no longer a minority, right?
Yeah.
But it was really good content. The rewards sucked. I hope that they're better in the future, but the content itself was really fun to do.
100%. And I think that there's still teams who do it that just farm it for money. Basically, right? So they could sell the
that throne's like 20 mil, and it could direct drop to your inventory. I mean, I got to do it with only tanks. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, of course. You
got no battle res anyway? Of course.
Jesus. Every fight has to be all tanks, man.
It has to be.
Making healer jobs useless. You know what the thing that made me so mad back in the day as a tank, just random thought, is when Ramu came out. I don't know. Again, my age, right? Showing it. Ramu came out, and you can off tank with.
Oh, you mean originally Ramu Extreme when you brought Titan Eggy out?
Yeah, Titan Eggy.
Tanks were useless.
Absolutely, it made me so bad because I'm like, they don't even want me in the groups anymore, man.
For those of you who don't know, back in the day, your pet had HP and everything, and Titan actually had aggro moves, so it could tank.
And they tanked better than real tanks in that one fight in particular.
They did. They couldn't not push their cooldowns. You
Yeah.
were doing it for them. And you also had Rouse, which gave a regen, right? Or sustain.
I can't remember.
Something.
Yeah. Sustain.
You had a heal for your pet.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Anyways, so I guess like the all tank groups are the revenge of all of that stuff. Yeah, I remember a lot of solo tanking too. Now that I think about it, it's coming up in chat here. Yeah, I remember a lot of solo tanking was happening. I played Warrior back in T9. And that's when I was doing my teaching, man, before like streaming was too much. I mean, streaming was there, but it wasn't like a huge focus or anything. But I would just do party finders and I would say, T9 group, any point of prog, somebody join in so I could just have some fun learning this with people, having other people learn with, not learn with me. I wanted to teach the fight. And
it was a hard fight.
Yeah. T9, it was so much fun to just get a group together and try to get some people through it. And nothing came out of that. It was just like a group of random people coming in to see what could happen and getting the meteors every once in a while or getting to wherever we got to.
Making a super golem.
Yeah, making a super golem. Yeah, trying to figure out how to not make the super golem. And it was, man, those were the days. But yeah. Man, we've gone so far off topic here, but I feel like it's just relevant.
No, it's all right.
The evolution of rating is very important for teaching parties, right? Because you know what? Here's one thing I have. So I've been playing in a number of different groups from like teaching parties and stuff to like speedruns and stuff too. Yeah. And there's been a lot of disappointment I've heard from newer players who are like, why are players so bad this tier? I'm like, when did you start? Like, well, I started at the end of last year and we got right through that. It was no problem. And now it's like players just forgot to play. I'm like, well, this tier is more difficult. Right? So like, newer players don't have the experience you're talking about. So the nostalgia provides perspective, right? Because you're like, it was not always the way you think it is.
No.
Traditionally, the second tier has been a lot more difficult than the first. And the third's kind of not too bad. Like it gets a lot of people into like, well, the expansion's over now. Have fun. Like Creator, right? Creator was very accessible.
Creator was like one of the defining moments. That actually made me bring up a point with Yoshida, and I asked him directly. I was like, all right, so do you want to have it to where the fights are easier than they get harder? Or how do you want to do the fights? Because after Midas, you're just like, they started with the hardest and then they went in a downward slope, right? And he said, yeah, we kind of do want to do that upward curve, but then like, he never kept to that.
Nah. Well, making the final tier a little easier and giving players longer to complete it before the expansion is kind of a good thing, right? Because for a lot of players, it's like, well, I couldn't do last year because it was too hard for me. Now I can do this one.
Yeah. Oh man, the third tier is no, I wouldn't say it's been the hardest. I'm trying to.
Bahamut was also not as hard as Nail. A lot of people were disappointed.
No,
Phoenix was hard.
Yeah,
but Bahamut was not. It was just long. It was like a 13-minute fight.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good fight, but it was not. Yeah, Nail felt like it was harder.
I don't think Oracle of Darkness was harder than Shiva. Shiva was just out for a year and a half.
Shiva was one long fight.
So. It was long. I think that felt tougher than Shiva.
Yeah.
It was a 13-minute long fight. And then you get again, people would eat shit.
It was such a good fight. I really loved that fight so much.
Me too.
And I just, again, we're talking about E8S, right? Not the extreme. For the few people who might
we could talk about Titans.
Sex. God damn youths.
Damn kids.
Always.
And they're dragon loving.
Party finders. SEX. Man. Anyways. But it was a lot of fun. And I had fun with tanking that too. And again, when we're talking about, when if you understood the mechanics, you could make some failures still work out. I loved when people died when some of those, I forget what the mechanic was called, but it gives you the blue and red dragon symbols or whatever, and you had to go to certain spots. Tank could get 2 if someone died, and I loved executing both of them and just still like, whatever. Don't care.
Or like somebody messes up like the mirror knockbacks or anything and you're still fine.
Yeah. I will say I did really hate that knockback and having to press it at the exact right time.
That was
nothing in that fight can phase me, because as a tank we had to walk away from the boss and stand next to a tornado for 10 seconds in E6.
Ugh.
Conflag Strike was the worst. And then after that was the mechanic where like nobody could complete the mechanic after, where everybody got the like enumerations and cleaves, and you had to rotate, and everybody would always get it.
Yeah.
The healer LB mechanic.
Oh gosh. Yeah, the good days. They were good days. They weren't that old. They're pretty recent, I guess, in terms of how long ago it was. How long ago was it? 2 years? Was Shiva 2 years ago?
Eden? Yeah.
Because I think that's when the cut happened, right?
Yeah. 2020 was COVID, right?
Yeah. And then we had a big 9-month delay. That was like the biggest delay we've ever had.
It was.
Long
tier. Just nothing.
I'd say it's worth it though. Endwalker's been really, really good.
Yeah, no, Endwalker's been great. And they've been doing a lot. This has been a very active year for me. We started off with a world race at the beginning of the year, then we had the Ultimate World Race in like over in April. Then we had another Savage World Race like sometime in the summer. I don't even remember now, right? Then we had Criterion came up, which was this whole new thing to deal with. Now we have another Ultimate.
It ended up being fun.
Yeah, it ended up being great.
Almost a whole day event, right?
It took
a couple hours.
Yeah, 9, 8, 7 hours, somewhere in there, right? And so it's probably not. It's going to be weird to try to figure out how to do that in the future, because
we're gonna have Ultimate, and then are you gonna cover maybe the Deep Dungeon? Because we have enough community members that do solo.
It would be interesting. I don't know if I need to do the solo one. It would be interesting to see who clear. I don't know.
Or you do a special stream where you couch alongside Angelus while he's progging it.
You should.
Right.
No, that'd be good. That'd be good.
Hype.
I've been recently, like all week, I've been going for my solo attempt for Necromancer because I hadn't tried it before, and the community is very, very, very like passionate. They know a lot of stuff about this. Like, there's going to be a trap in this spot. I'm like, how do you know that? So like, well, the way the room looks on this floor set.
The way it is.
Okay. Yeah, you could tell there's a trap bear by the way it is.
Do you walk into the trap just to prove him right or wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good. But yeah, when we're getting back to kind of the topic, I guess we were talking about Party Finder, and we talked a lot about Party Finder. We talked about getting clears and stuff, and kind of you guys helping people with getting clears, and raiding in general. We've talked a decent amount about it. I mean, raiding in this game, it feels like Square Enix. When did they hit it? They hit a certain point to where they're just like, yeah, we got this. I mean, there might be a little bit of goofs here and there, like a % difference of damage that needs to be done to go to the next phase, things like that. But they've been doing pretty good with raids, wouldn't you say, for a little while now?
I think Midas was the last tier, remember, that had bugs.
Right?
They had to bring it down to patch some stuff out. But outside of that, like there was the Titan instance timer, but up until that point, we had all known there was a variance on instance timer anyway. But it didn't become a problem until, it cost somebody world first.
Yeah.
I think Alexander Creator was the first tier where everybody was like, yeah, this is a good tier. We're all able to raid and it's functional and it's good. And from then on, it was fine. I thought Stormblood was my favorite raid expansion still.
Really?
It was also when we got, well, yeah. I thought all of those, it was basically like a Final Fantasy amusement park, right? Where they just brought in a bunch of old bosses.
Yeah, it was, man. So X-Steph. Then they went to Kefka. Then no Sephiroth.
We got Chaos as the first fight. Yeah, no Sephiroth.
Yeah,
we got Chaos.
We did get Chaos, yeah. So I feel like they kind of I don't know. Everyone knew they weren't going to do it because it just didn't make any sense for them to do that. But it was, maybe we'll see it soon. We have a lot of Final Fantasy VII things coming up.
We could.
Maybe. We have the Ultimate coming up, and they do Omega, right? And then the end, he turns into Sephiroth. They just do
One-Winged Angel playing?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That'd be badass.
That's his complete version.
I would love that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, what was it? The Omega M, Omega F, right?
Yeah, it kind of looks like Omega M a little bit.
You could use a model similar to that and then make something work out there. Why
Sword's
not?
long enough.
Yeah, the sword is pretty long too.
Well, the lore of Omega was also that like he could create anything fact or fiction, right? Like Phantom Train was a Garlean book, like a fairy tale for children. So who's to say Sephiroth wasn't in the tournament and got defeated by someone else? And like in the Ultimate, now we're fighting 3 different creatures that we never even saw.
Yeah.
We fight like Emperor and like Sephiroth, and then I don't know.
Yeah, an Ultimate with the different forms of Genova and Sephiroth. Why not?
Perfect timing, because it'd be right after Crisis Core.
Yeah, right after Reunion, man.
It's gonna be so good.
I mean, it's been a busy. You said it's a busy year for you. It's also been a busy year for Square Enix in general. In addition to 14, they've had like everything in it, under the sun launching, right?
Yeah. This has been like one of the most intense gaming years. I think it was just like right after the COVID stuff all finished up, and then we have FanFest, and like next year it's going to be crazy.
Everybody's polished their games.
Yeah, because we're going to have FanFest. I mean, it's the rating stuff will go down just a little bit, but I mean, if they have Criterion stuff coming out and they do another thing that's similar to, I don't know, BA or DRS, right?
Not DSR.
Yeah. Then we would have a very full year. I don't know if they'll do that, but the Criterion stuff alone will actually do a lot of work, because it's a mini race, so it's kind of difficult to know if there's actually worth putting resources into it, because it might be cleared by the time people wake up.
Yeah. Well, the Savage itself, like when I did it, I didn't do it day 1, but when I did Savage, it took me 2 pulls to clear. But I had already done the normal mode like 20 times. So that's really the big difference, right? Day 1 is like you don't have the farm practice. But if everybody had like let's say it was like a delay like normal to Savage, right? And everybody had like a week to just farm the normal mode a bunch, Savage would release and they just walk in, walk out.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. All right. What else do we want to talk about with rating, clearing content, and Party Finder? You know what? I could rant for another second here about my experiences, but
sometimes people don't want to clear. Sometimes they just want Todd and I to come in and see and rage, and then they're done with the fight.
That's also happened. Like,
yeah?
Legit. Yeah.
We went into P6, and they were like, we're trying to learn the fight. And like 3 pulls in or something, we saw Enrage, and they're like, thank you for coming. We're going to the next fight now.
All the mechanics, there was still 30% left on the boss when we saw Enrage. And they're like, all right, boys, pack it up. We've seen everything. And we left another group that
went to 7.
Yeah. Another group that happened. Yeah, it was 2 different ones.
Well, I mean, were they trying to get gear?
No, they just wanted to see the fight.
They just wanted to see the mechanics.
They didn't kill it. They just saw Enrage, skipped it, went to 7.
Disbanded after Enrage. They just saw all the mechanics. That's it. I know the gears are turning. It's like, why would they do that? The gears
turning in your head, but the gear wasn't dropping on their floor.
There was no gear. There was no clear.
I don't get it. I just
mechanics.
I don't understand.
I don't get it.
Knowledge, right? Experiencing the fight.
But you don't fully understand the fight. Even when you clear it one time, I mean, you can sort of understand it fully, but there's going to be some things that you miss in that first clear that you might die to the next time you pull on it, because you just get like one. I'm going to tell you, I've done enough P7Ss to where sometimes I wonder if there is a variation to one of the mechanics that are happening, because I just get the same thing over and over and over and over again. It took me a while before I got something besides, what was it, I forget what it's actually called, but where you right before the bird phase, the Minotaur phase, where you have one person that has to direct 2 Minotaurs in the middle.
Right before the knockback.
Right. Yeah. The first set of Minotaurs in the Yak.
And I always had to direct a Minotaur. Like, it was just every single time, no matter what. And I was like,
the middle bait?
Yeah, middle bait. I had to do it.
No tether? Okay.
I had never got anything else. And I was like, I guess this is literally just role specific. I don't know. I missed something. And like, and eventually I got something else. And then I was like, fuck. And I killed everyone. Because I was just like,
it's either all the DPS gets the Yak and then the supports get the 2 minnows and then the middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or flipped.
It was weird. I don't understand. And then eventually I started seeing the other ones, and I could execute it because I read up on how it's supposed to be done. But like the first couple of times, it was just like, all right, well, I'm just going to kill everyone, because I literally thought this was all that was. This is all I've ever seen for like 10 pulls. I can't expect that I'm going to have to do anything else.
I can't wait for you to do P8 then.
P8's going to be a fun one. I am so excited for that, to be honest with you. As soon as P7's like out of the way, there's like 20 billion groups for P8S, and they're usually looking for a shield healer.
Oh yes, you will have no trouble finding a group.
That's the meme: is healers missing in all your parties.
Yeah. And so I'm going to feel pretty good about that, and I'm going to get into these groups, and I'll have access to go to all these other parties, and I could do clear parties for other people too. And so like the gates are almost completely open. It's just finding first the fresh prog for P8S, then getting to the next checkpoint, and then the next checkpoint, and finding groups that fit within those molds. It is painful right now. Like PA7S was a horrible one to find a fresh prog for. It was always harvest prog. That was every group.
Well, because you prog up at that point so quickly.
Yeah,
you can get to purgation very easily with the fresh group.
Yeah,
and don't get us started on the strategy. Week 1 was horrible. I'm sure. Well, you probably saw it. Day 1 prog, like nobody did that strat because the whole marker business. Like I think the intended strategy where you like use the entire arena was way harder.
That was super hard. I'm talking about that one.
Yeah,
and then you do this, and it's like it doesn't become a mechanic anymore.
No,
as soon as I stand on these markers.
I saw Sleepo. I'm like, holy shit, that makes it so much easier.
The thing that makes it hard is understanding that the stack doesn't stand in the middle, and that they have to stack on 2 or B, because people just forget. Yeah, and they just kill her. I did it, and I'm sure other people have done it. And it's like, yeah, the stack marker, I was right in the middle. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you can't do that.
Oh, but it was. It's a fight, man. It's a fight. I enjoy it though. I do think P7S is. I know people meme on and give it shit all the time, but I do think there's some nice elements to it. I
like it better than P3S in Party Finder.
I like that they played with the arenas. I think they could have done more. Like because nothing goes on for the first. Like tanks have some responsibility, but I like that they're playing with arenas.
Yeah,
I think maybe like a mini harvest, like maybe 4 minutes in the fight would have been kind of cool.
Or if the boss even just shifted instead of staying in the same spot every time, like maybe it appears or it has clones or something.
They just did each one of those harvests at some point before you got to the end, then all 3 at the end.
One at like 2 minutes, maybe. Yeah. Instead, they waited till you have healer LB3 and then did the mechanics.
Yeah.
So, Frosty, I have a question for you.
Sure.
You like blind progging when you can, right? When you're getting ready to kill a fight, do you care about the 2 chests specifically, or are you just trying to kill the boss?
Never. All right, so here's the thing, and I think everybody needs to understand this if you're going to do Party Finder. Chests don't matter until you get a clear. They literally mean nothing. They're absolutely
And you lost
worthless.
The roll.
Because you're going to lose the roll
everybody.
anyways.
You just pretend you lost it. And if you're a healer, if you were in a static, you weren't getting anything for 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's true too. But the thing is, the gear you have, and likely at the point you're progging, you're going to be better geared than the people who already have cleared it with less gear, right? You're not going to be in a complete disadvantage to where that gear is going to change your life at any point. What will change the situation is getting the clear. Because then now you're not locked out to these parties on Tuesday night, and you can go through and get with these people who do it every single week, although sometimes it doesn't always turn out great, but at least you have access to these parties to try to get a re-clear and get 2 chests every single time. And so trying to get what you want to do when you're doing Party Finder is always clear first, loot is the next week. Because if you try to do anything else in that, you lessen the amount of parties that you can get into, and you lessen the amount of time you're in the fight, and you lessen just the overall experience that you can do. And that's just what it is. And so we kind of have to get out of that mindset.
You become that dude on Monday night going for a 2 chest that's in there until reset and doesn't get the kill. Yeah. And then you're the one who's like week 15, and you can't join a fresh prog fight because nobody's fresh progging the fight anymore.
Yeah, it's tough. Then you're like, Llama, Ren, help. And they'll help you. They'll come get you. But it is.
But like, there's a lot of people too who want help with us, but like, we're like, well, we've already helped some people. It'll be a 1 chest, and like, I don't want that.
That's stupid. Yeah, that's dumb.
I want a 2 chest. Yeah,
get your clear out of the way.
Yeah, just get it out of the way. And I mean, I would almost say to the fact, if you don't get your clears somewhere between the range of Tuesday, Thursday, just go ahead and give it up. And just go in and get whatever you can get clear wise.
Yeah, by the weekend.
Yeah, if you're doing any prog,
page.
If you're doing any kind of prog at any point within that tier, even if you've already cleared those fights, the point, you could just go to P8S, I guess, or whatever, and get the clear, start working on it then. But just go ahead and burn through them, get them out of the way, and start working on your P8S.
Sure, dude. We all remember how it used to be. Pages, they didn't used to exist.
Yeah.
There were specific drops in your chest.
That's right.
You didn't have gloves for like 9 weeks in a row, dude, and not have an ninja in your static. And you couldn't just buy your gear. There were no coffers. There were no pages. Like, except for you, Frosty, your shield dropped on turn 1. So you could get your body and your shield and just be done and wait. And you're like, well, I got my gear.
Yeah.
Like, it was not nice.
No. I mean... And not everybody thinks the way that I think. I just want to play the game. I don't care about like if I'm perfect or if I have like the getting gear is something that will come and eventually happen. It will always happen. You'll always eventually get your gear. And then no one's gonna look at you and say, "Oh, you have a 220 in there instead of a 230. You're shit." No one gives a fuck. Just go in. And if you do, the thing is, if you execute your abilities correctly, it'll just feel nicer when you get better gear, but it's not going to matter. You're still going to keep people alive the same. You're still going to, when you're talking about a healer sense, I guess, you're still going to do DPS. The DPS checks, I think, only start to really get crunched over at the end. If people are not messing up on mechanics, you're doing fine with your DPS, likely if you're pressing buttons and you're playing your job.
Floor. These days, not even the 3rd floor as much. The 4th floor is really the one where you got to do it. But let's say you blasted through your clears and you just got a page run every week. If you're only playing one job, you're going to get it best in slot before the next thing comes out. Mm-hmm. But if you wait too long to kill and you haven't cleared by week 10, now you're not.
Matter.
You're screwed. Yeah.
So I guess like for Ultimate maybe, right? Or for some things,
best
in slot is it would be great, but when next Savage tier comes out, your best in slot means crap. It means nothing. It's a reset. Every single Savage tier is a complete reset.
Yeah. The only thing you're doing is getting best in slot for Ultimate. And if you're doing day 1 Ultimate, you're already going to be best in slot because you got a static.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
so there's so much that people have to get over in Party Finder. It really does. You know what? The other
thing is people who care about their parse on their first kill. Motherfucker, you're not even geared. Your parse is going to be gray as fuck, even if you play the best you could play.
Yeah.
Or not. Some people also. Okay, so there's one big change about this tier, right? You actually need crafted to start. Like you can survive if you have last year's best in slot with personals and like extra help from others, but like this tier, there have been a couple people who have come back like I haven't played in a while. Am I okay? I have my best in slot. I'm like, no, go to a market board right now.
Just go do some normal real quick. You know, get a couple pieces there, then get your crafted, right? If you're tight on money, you can do some normal to get some stuff. There's ways to get gear. It's not fast.
You're getting on normal. Your first kill this. It doesn't matter, dude.
Yeah. Just get crafted, then go up from there. I've seen people undercrafted, and I'm like, all right, this is a little bit sketch. But once you get that crafted bar, you just go forward. You're fine. The other thing, what was it? The wonderful experience with Party Finder. If you join a party and no one waves or communicates immediately, it might not be a good party. There's a high risk situation there if no one ever says anything until you enter the fight, because those people are either really tired and they don't care about anything that's going on.
They're really mad.
Or they're really mad because they were wiping or something else. The mood has to be set. If you're a party leader in Party Finder, the first thing you want to do is wave to every person that comes in. You just want to have that communication going so you can get the tone set, at least in a mildly okay manner, because otherwise it's just this weird, awkward situation to where you go in there. You just got to talk a little bit, and that's it. And it makes...
The only exception is like Party Finder goes up, fills immediately, ready check an instance, and that's fine.
Sure.
That'll happen on like Tuesday. People just want to go.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine. I think more in the sense of prog groups that are going in there that you're going to have to interact
I've
with
seen
a little
that
bit.
happen.
Yeah. You got to have some communication going. You can get a feel for that kind of stuff early on. And if shit happens and someone messes up, this is such an awkward situation. I don't want to tell people what to do, but when bad things happen and someone's like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry," tell them it's okay. Say it's cool. Because that dude is on nails right now. He's like, "Oh fuck, everyone hates me. I just messed up," and they're gonna get nervous and weird and awkward. Just go ahead and try to be like, "It's all right. Don't worry about it."
The best thing you can do is be a little bit encouraging, because sometimes somebody's just having a bad day.
Yeah.
And there's also like, dude, if you put people down or you like pseudo gatekeep people, just because somebody's messing up today, they could become better than you next year. Like, oof. No. There's no reason to push people down, right? Because you're going to be stuck with the community that you have. And if you just want to make everybody feel bad, or like you're like, I don't know. There's a lot of people out there who like to blame everybody else, right? Mm-hmm. And why would you do that?
Oh, the moment you point a finger, like you're gonna eat shit to the next mechanic.
Yeah, it's gonna.
And it always happens.
It's
always happens.
It's karma.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing, if you get in a group and it's like really bad, just make the best of it, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I also think especially with party finders, since it's not like a static situation, you're gonna have like a few, maybe not meme pulls, but I'd say more like adjustment pulls where it's like you're kind of getting used to how people move, especially like things like well, you'll see it eventually, but like best example I'd be like natural alignment in P8, where it's like making sure people are like in out, because there's so many different combinations of like baiting, and so you have to just make sure that, all right, who's going to be here if it's this pattern, or if these two people are in. So there's a little bit of adjustment.
Sometimes, like in that mechanic, if you have like a tank or a melee, right, you might end up in a pair of two melees. Neither of them have ever had to flex before, so now there's a learning curve.
Right, and then like you get two range, where it's like, well, I'm always on the outside. It's like, well, one of you has to move in.
Yeah. Well, I'm always on the outside.
Well, I'm always the outside guy. I'm like, okay, well.
100%, man. Like every single pull, I just think about, okay, I'm figuring out how I can optimize and do better, and what can I do to be better in this situation. And even if I know that there's a good chance I'm not going to get a clear, I'm going to get better at the game probably. Sure. It's not ever going to be a situation to where I'm going to get worse by just going through and doing it. I hope not. All right.
And like joining like prog parties, even if you've cleared something, joining a prog party and you're playing a different role, it's a great way to like reinforce what you've learned, and maybe you'll see something new on a different role.
I mean, that will be something that I might do going forward, is like after I clear the entire tier. And I'm saying all this stuff and I haven't even cleared this tier yet, but
if you go back and tank, it's going to be different than healing, right?
Exactly. So I'll go back and tank. I'll go hopefully do one of each role just to go ahead and get out. Maybe even do regen healer instead of shield healer. Just get a feel for these different things. But
you'll have that fight knowledge as a healer. You'll know when to use your group mitigation.
Yeah.
As tank.
Yeah. And so I think that it should be fun. Just getting into parties and experiencing it in a different way is always fun. But my point being, don't consider it a loss if for some reason, because you could leave that group and then you don't find another group for the rest of the night. That's how I feel about it. I mean, other people, they're like, hey, I don't want to waste my time, whatever.
Sometimes it's a dumpster fire, but you can tell.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you get in the whole, like you were saying earlier, the whole group's tilted, right? And you're just not getting anywhere. Like you're messing up to like the very beginning of the fight for like 20 minutes, and you're like, all right, well,
my favorite is like someone is like, sorry, I've never done this fight before, and it's a clear party, and I'm just like, all right, time to get out. And so
right,
or it is a clear party, so that's like, what they want to do.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing. People join. It says in Rage, or it says like some late mechanic, and then they're like, I've only seen like the second mechanic. Is that okay? And like,
my favorite thing, literally my favorite thing that I had happen recently, it was P7S actually, was a Harvest Prog or Clear Party or something of that nature, and then they wiped to what was it? Oh, it was the one. God, why can't I remember the name of it? But it's the birds that you all have to go into your 4 spots on your platform, and you
Yeah, the
separate.
tower, like this bird towers tethered.
I called it
that
pigeonholes.
Yeah, that one, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
And then people messed up on it, and they're like, hold on, I need to explain this real quick to the people in my Discord. I'm like, wait a minute. Why do you need to explain this?
For that mechanic, there are 3 different ways people resolve it. So sometimes people will try to resolve it a certain way, and they'll kill like 3 other people doing it.
I guess so. It just felt weird going in there, and then they're like, yeah, this is supposed to be for Enrage. I'm like, I feel like there should be, it seems pretty straightforward to me. It doesn't feel like there's too much more to do besides group 1, group 2 here. Then you spread out into your 4 little spots, right?
Oh, you have your quadrants, right?
Yeah.
You just go to your quadrant at the beginning, you wait, and then you do the mechanic.
Yeah. But that was the other thing. And I think the number one thing, too, is don't care if you're not good at the... Try to get better, but if you're not like the perfect player, don't be so afraid to join Party Finder.
There's always somebody better than you, and there's always somebody that you're better than.
My favorite thing is going into a group and someone else fucks up, and I'm like, I can relax.
I'm not the worst player.
I'm okay now.
Feels good.
That's my favorite thing.
That's funny.
But yeah, no, there's a lot of people out there that are in similar situations, and it doesn't matter how far behind. Like, again, I host world race events and stuff, and I don't do prog until late right now. So it's not a bad thing to not be the best player in the game, or to be like really, really, a top tier stuff. You can just be a person who enjoys the game and enjoys raiding and tries your best, and people will still be okay with you and not think you're a horrible human. Yeah. So
most people.
Yeah.
There's gonna be that one guy that you're gonna blacklist who's gonna.
Yeah. Probably a few of those.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave the you'll definitely run into people who suck. Like, if you see those people, don't let it bother you.
No,
it'll happen. But
blacklist, move on.
Yeah, there's people who are going to be shitty to you, and there's going to be people who suck, and you're just going to have these bad experiences. Party Finder, and that's why Party Finder gets memed all the time. But you just try to make the best of the situation. I feel like that's literally what Party Finder prog is: making the best of the situation. And you have to get used to doing that and not have super high expectations, and understand that you're going to have people who are shitty, or they might have something going on in their life that's causing them to be shitty, or there's so many other things that are going on, and you got to let that stuff just roll on and just, again, try your best with your interactions with people. You might not have the best interactions with people either.
That's true.
So... And you can enjoy the game a little bit better. Man, I remember back in the day in Phantasy Star Online days. I don't know if you guys ever played that.
Yes.
Dreamcast dial-up.
Yeah, so on the Dreamcast and on GameCube.
And then you got in, what was that last fight that had the multiple rings that you were trying to kill the boss? It was start out with like all the flowers and everything, and then like
it was Dark Falls.
Was that? I can't remember the name.
Who was the final boss of the first area, but then you went to the second set of areas and like the beach and stuff. Yeah, it was really, really cool. But
going into that and like doing those fights and going through, it was always random people, and it was so much fun to go and do all that stuff. And I've been doing this for years, just joining groups with random people and just going through these experiences. And it doesn't feel like it's probably changed a little bit, but you're still just dealing with random people.
I think the best experiences for those when you're playing like an online game that you aren't too invested in yet because you don't care what other people think, right? But I think when it comes to 14, people get pretty passionate pretty quickly, so they can get their feelings bruised a little bit easier.
Oh yeah,
either by themselves or by others. So it really is important to know that like, as long as you're trying and you're learning, you're doing fine.
Yeah, I think Dark Falls was right, by the way.
I had a phone whirl. It was awesome. This little like elf caster person.
I can't remember. I knew I had the little robot guy with me, and then I had some really strong crossbow needle shot thing, huh? Yeah, the mag.
Yeah, your mag.
Yeah, the mag. Yeah, the mag. Yeah. Oh man. Anyways, what else should we go over before wrapping up the show? I feel like we've hit a lot of stuff here, and we're probably at a decent point. But anything else?
I mean, maybe you could just like give some advice to people that haven't taken that first step into rating, and maybe they just like maybe what can they do? I think that's a common question I get. It's like, I want to get in rating. Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So on. It's like, and we'll recommend Party Finder and stuff, but there's things you can do outside of Party Finder, and which is just just looking up how to play your job and reading your tooltips and just trying to at least get a basic understanding of your rotation.
That's a really important one. Do not be too proud that you're like, well, I want to just feel out how I'm playing, right? Because there are people who have put in a lot of hours into figuring out how to play a job properly. And believe it or not, even though 14 doesn't do a good job at explaining it to you, that doesn't mean it's because it's very freeform. There are best ways to play your jobs. It's just that the game doesn't teach it to you innately.
It doesn't.
But if you take that time to practice, you're going to be doing yourself a favor.
Yeah, go. I mean, if you feel uncomfortable, you feel like there's something that you want to be better at, you can get comfortable by looking at resources and reading up. Like, I mean, that's perfectly fine. I did harp on this a little bit. I like going in and learning stuff myself as well. That's like a big thing for me. Even learning a job, learning all this other stuff. But after I feel like I have some stuff figured out, I still like to go look and see how off the mark I was, right? I still like to go and try to make sure I am solidifying what I'm doing. And I'm not going to be so proud to say that, all right, I think I have it figured out and I'm not going to learn any other new way. I try to learn other ways. If I feel like I hit a wall and I can't optimize more, I'm more than happy to try to figure out how I can get better and look up something. So
also be open to the possibility. This goes really well for tanks and healers, that what you're doing may work, but may not be working well. Like, you may be a healer in a party and you may think that you're just fine and what you're doing is great, but you may be using your kit improperly. Like, well, I'm always healing and we're still dying. So
it's worked
the
before.
other people aren't doing enough. But it could just be that the order of operations that you're using things in, like maybe you're not putting out Panheim on a mechanic, right? And you're like, well, we lived before, and it's because like 3 other people compensated for the fact that you didn't put something in a really good spot. So be open-minded, right? To different healing plans. Sometimes you may be paired up with the same healer job too as your co-healer. This is a really big healer thing. You might be like a sage paired up with a white mage, and maybe the last white mage you played with heals differently than the white mage you're with now.
Big time.
You have to change it a little bit.
Yeah. I found that happen multiple times where I heal and I'm like, man, I guess this is actually not that bad of a situation. I mean, everyone just comes up real fast. All right. And then next group, they die immediately because the other healer didn't do anything. So
then maybe just being more receptive to that advice. I mean, there are people in Party Finder that just get really bent out of shape if you try to tell them how to play their job. So it's just just kind of piggyback on what Rin said. Just have an open mind. Just maybe someone knows something a little bit better than you do and can instruct you like how to like help the group more and use your kit better.
I could tell you right now, nobody's going to be offering advice because they want the party to do worse.
No, they're not. Yeah, no one's trying to like do like a personal attack and be like, "Oh, you fucking suck. Why aren't you using it like this?" But they're just trying to
like Frosty said, right? They're all greedy. They're all trying to get their clear. They're going to give you whatever information they can to do that.
That's true. I will say, though, do put some sort of caution a little bit. Every once in a while, someone will tell you something that's wrong, but it's not.
True.
They're not telling you because they think it's wrong.
Yeah,
they're telling you because they think it's right.
They think it's right.
But
I think Novice Network does that frequently, where people think they know better. Like, it goes both ways. But
just be open-minded. Try
to
understand why they're telling you that and see if that makes sense. If it does, then move forward with it. That's no reason not to. But yeah, it's just get in there, play, do it.
Not worrying about wiping and dying. That's part of it. It's like, well, I don't want to mess up. It's like, you're going to wipe.
People are going to yell at you.
You're going to fuck up. And those are some of the best times because then you know why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Understanding the why you fucked up.
And yes, just like Nova said in chat, eat your food. At least do that.
It's just
come
prepared with the bare minimum.
Why are you so toxic? Just
bro? Eat food.
It's just practice.
It's just.
I'm sorry, are you a culinarian? Stay in your lane.
At least that, right?
Eat your food, meld your gear, and respect the stuff.
I remember at some point I was eating orange juice because I was just like, all right, I just want the buff up.
Raisins.
You weren't drinking it? You're like, I have a food buff. They won't notice what
they
it
won't
is.
notice anything wrong with it.
They won't notice. They won't hover over it.
Current food, current melds, crafted gear, or whatever you can get your hands on, and beyond that, and just put in effort
of 2 direct hit.
I mean, after you do that, you don't have to think anymore. You just go buy that food every time you run out, and then you have gear, and you just it's not. You just get to the baseline, get to that baseline, and you're fine.
And then just try to understand how the fight goes and why you're doing what you're doing.
5%. Really, yeah, that's good too. Setting up your groups for the 5%. Make sure you have one of each role.
I feel a little bit indifferent about that because I do feel like filling parties sometimes is more important than getting the 5%. I feel like if you lock the party down and you're like
maybe the last 2 floors.
Yeah.
Go for the 5%.
Later into the week, you might have difficulty finding people if you're going for a 2 chest for every roll. But like for me, the 5% isn't even about the damage because more often than not, you're fine. But it's also 1% HP per person.
It's the HP,
per roll, right? And sometimes you'll just fucking die if you don't have that 5%. People are like, we have the damage, and then they die. They're like, I don't get it. I use the same mitt. Well, you're literally missing stats now.
1% of your health is not there.
That is true. That is true. Absolutely.
That could be 6 or 7K. You know.
It helps. It does help a lot. There's no doubt about it. I just at some point I was just like if I don't get the 1%, I at least want a person who's can get in here and do this because waiting in Party Finder sucks.
If you're missing the 1%, at least have 2 melee.
Don't go 2 melee, guys. Ignore 2 melee. What are you talking?
Yeah, that's more balanced than it's ever been.
All right. Anything else you guys want to hit on before we wrap it up?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay.
Ready for more Party Finder. So excited.
Yeah, if you're progging P8S, look away from the snakes. You're not going to lose the pull by looking away.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, just look away. Don't greed.
I guess this kind of goes into clearing content.
Yeah.
A big issue people will have is there's a mechanic where you have to look away from gaze. You've done it before. You did it on Melusine, right? Mm-hmm. It's a very Melusine-based mechanic. Sometimes people will hold their W key to look away and run, and they'll still get petrified, and they'll think, why did I do that? And they're attacking. And it's because even though you don't see your character turn around, when you attacked, you did turn around.
That
even if you don't see it.
Yeah. I've done that exact same thing. I was running out. I was holding down my W key, and it shot backwards into the group. I'm like, well.
And if you wipe because you missed one attack, then you probably have bigger problems. You'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's my big advice.
Okay. Oh, man. This has been fun. I enjoyed having you guys on the show. You guys are a blast. And you're both going to FanFest, right?
Oh, yeah. Got it.
There's a bear shit in the woods?
Yeah. I hopefully should be able to make it as well. As long as everything works out with my daughter and finding a good situation for that during that time.
Bring her. That's a good situation. Dress her up as a little Moogle with a microphone.
Sure. If she gets sick, I will die inside. But
that's true.
I mean, I could also bring stuff back, I guess. I don't know. But it depends on how that looks. Vegas is a weird situation for me.
I hate Vegas.
It's gonna be hot.
I fucking hate Vegas. It's the air quality is so horrible. I can't breathe.
It's a little bit weird. It's not going to be on the Strip this time, so it'll be a little bit different. But anyways, yeah. You guys, we're having a fun time out there. I'm glad. Hopefully, we'll be able to see each other, hang out, spend some time. Yes. And then
this time I'll get a picture with you where you're not like.
I would like to go to Gordon Ramsay restaurant.
Go to the Gordon. Yeah, there's
one of them. Yeah,
it's like $200 steaks, dude.
I mean, you gotta do it every once in a while. You gotta have an expensive dinner every once in a while, man. You gotta do it. And it's always really good. It's always really. I mean, I'm not gonna say that always. There's probably if it's bad reviewed, then probably don't go there. But going to like a really nice, expensive restaurant once in a while, once every blue moon, once whenever, and then you come back and you're just like, this is what food should be like. It feels really good. But anyways, that being said, before we wrap up, I do want to make sure you guys all have a second to say any last shout outs and where people can find you and all that wonderful stuff. Llama, do you want to go first here, Mr. Todd?
Sure. You can just find me at twitch.tv/Llamatodd or on Twitter, just at Llamatodd. We'll be on tonight. We'll be helping Ponto hopefully clear P8S tonight. Ren, if you're around. Come join that. But yeah, almost every night we're helping people in chat.
Okay.
And like other our streamer friends and viewers just learn how to raid. So come on by.
All right.
And and big shout out to my community and of course Mrs. Llama.
Thanks a lot, Mrs. Llama, for the sub as well again.
That's right. I'll let her know.
All right, Ren, you want to go?
No.
Okay, you don't have to do it. We can just keep that.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rin. You can find me at Rin Karigani on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Tonight, I'll try to be free for you if I can, but we're starting with looped DSR runs where we.
Oh my god.
We pull the fight until you save Horschiffon, and then you don't save him. And the pull resets without actually resetting.
How many loops are you trying for? Loop
We're
hero?
gonna do one loop first, and then a whole lockout.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
So that's gonna be cool.
So you're trying to go the entire lockout, and then
it'll be like an hour and 53-minute pull or something because the door boss part you have to get through.
Wow. Okay.
It's gonna be so much fun. The big reason because people go why. Because you have to be consistent, because you can't fuck up. But you could eat shit to an exit player right at the end.
That's funny.
That's
so
awesome.
many things that us Final Fantasy 14 streamers and content creators can literally be followed up with why.
Like Saranaya's group doing the 93 Death UCOB.
Death Cob.
Because it's fun.
You got your potions, you got your food, you have a challenge.
What if you did like an ultimate day where it's like, can you one-shot each ultimate, like back to back to back to back?
That was a race. Do you remember that, Frosty?
I commentated it. Well, not that.
Was there?
I don't think it was.
Was it in Europe?
It was Paris Games Week, I think.
Paris Cup or something.
Paris Games Week. They had a team out, and they had a few teams out, and it wasn't Ultimates. It was like, I mean, it was the most recent tier, followed by I think it was UCOB and Ultimate.
UCOB and UWU that were out at the time.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, UWU, Ultima. Yeah.
And they had to like kill them all without wiping.
Yeah, I mean they don't have to, but they would be very far behind when they wipe because they're racing. It was like two teams facing off, and then they would go, and then our two teams would face off, and they would just keep going until the last one.
But that's like if we did that again, could you imagine if like with the 5th ultimate, and then you had to kill all 5 in a.
All 5, but if you wipe on one, you have to start over from the first
min-eye level.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Min-eye level.
Yeah. UCOB, UWU, T. Yeah. In order. If you wipe the last one, go back to the start.
Yeah.
Ridiculous
gauntlet. The very last mechanic of the last fight, and you just die.
And then you're like, ugh.
You got the one guy who greeted a GCD too.
Those greeters.
That'd be painful.
But yeah, so I do stupid crazy challenge stuff sometimes. Like we did all tanks in the Criterion recently.
Of course.
Yeah, so we're gonna be doing the loop DSR, and then we're just helping people do stuff. I do like on the weekends we're teaching, and then like UCOB throughout the week, and Savage, Todd, and I every night. Come find us if you want. If you want to get into it, you're asking how do we get into your parties? Just show up in our chat and be like, hey, I have this fight I want to do, and if we're not doing anything at the time, we'll do that.
Content. Yeah. So anyways, guys, again, it was a blast. And chat, thank you so much for coming and hanging out. You guys bring a really good community. Llama, Ren, you guys have a lot of people that follow you, and it's great. So thank you everybody who came and hung out with us today. I had a lot of fun on the show. Next week we won't be doing a show because it actually conflicts with a commitment that I made to another show, Ether 14 Radio. I probably didn't say it right, but yeah, it's actually a French podcast, and they're doing kind of like a pretty big show right now that I'm going to come on there and just talk with them for a little bit. for their event. But hopefully we have a live letter that's going to be coming up soon too. I don't know when, but they have
got to be towards the end of December, right? Yeah. It's usually like a week or two before the patch. So
right.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be right after Christmas.
No, I don't know what 19 is in French. Well, that's a weird question. Maybe I'm missing something.
Okay, with the D's nuts joke for sure.
Yeah, probably. It probably is. Anyways, we have that going on. Then we have a lot of really possibly interesting news and things going throughout December. And then we have January, which is going to be the world race for Ultimate, which is going to be probably the most intense one that we've done so far. Mm-hmm. We're going to see what we can do. But yeah, hopefully it's sooner than the 30th. I want to know more about the Ultimate. It would be nice to be able to make assets and graphics for things that we have some loose information about instead of just throwing random stuff up.
I think he said potentially might be able to zone into it.
Yeah, that would be great. And so we'll see. We have a couple other ideas for shows that will be happening. But next week, we will be on the Ether 14 radio. Ether 14 radio. And Nero's coming on. Happy's coming on, I believe, as well. We're all just going to talk and hang out with them for a little bit. That being said...
It sounds fun, man.
Yeah, it does sound fun. I want to do this more often. And I think we got some stuff that we were talking about with our... Man, there's so much stuff. Holy crap. There is a lot of little events happening in the community. This is like the downtime, I guess, where all the events happen.
A little bit, yeah.
So we'll see. But anyways, guys, look forward to all that great stuff. And thank you again for everyone who supported the stream. It does mean a lot. Just coming and hanging out, just being here is awesome. And until next time, remember to be good, keep cool, stay frosty. Bye! Mm-hmm. Everybody wave, say bye!
Bye-bye.